All right, everybody, welcome to part 2 of our Healy University. What are we going to call this?
That's a great question. I love Healy University.
Something like that. It's like part 2 where we're going to talk about the Blue Dot app, and we'll tell you what that means. But if you haven't already seen it, we did quite a long video deep dive on the Healy, on kind of first steps, how to download it, how to use the microcurrent apps, how to do everything about that in a lot of detail. And you should be able to find it linked here to this video. Today, we're going to talk about the Blue Dot app. And so, Ken, what different options of Healys are there, and what do people mean when they say the Blue Dot?
Yeah, I love that because it was funny because as Americans, we look at things a little differently, and we're like, well, how do we identify this stuff? Because this is a Healy app, and then there's a Healy Advisor app, and then there's a Heal Advisor Analysis app. Wait a minute, one's got a blue dot and one's got a pink dot. How about that?
So yeah, I didn't not take any responsibility for what they call these apps.
Nor did I. It was just
they could possibly have made it more confusing, but I'm not so sure about that. Maybe.
it would be a hard workout to get it more confusing, but we're good. We're good on the confusing
pink
level.
for microcurrents, blue for what? What's the difference here?
So blue, I love the blue because that's kind of like out there in the sky, right? It's kind of out there in the atmosphere. And so blue dot, now we are able to, with this particular app, this program, we're actually able to work in the more energetic field, right? Now we're not going to be connected to the device and running microcurrents. Now we're going to be working in one's information field, influencing them on a homeopathic basis. So that's pretty cool. And back to the question about additions, we talked a little bit last time about the 4 additions, you know, the Healy Gold, the Healy Holistic, the Holistic Plus, and then the Resonance. So the first 3 have to do with the microcurrents. Just a little review here, guys.
Yeah.
The first 3 have to do with microcurrents and connecting to your body and running microcurrents into your body and really influencing the cells, the systems and organs. So you're plugged in, yeah. Right? And so then the 4th one, called the Resonance, that adds a whole nother platform, a whole nother app. Okay. So the first one is run by one app. All those first 3 editions are run by one app. The 4th edition, or Resonance, now incorporates the app for the first 3, but also adds a brand new one. So now we have a second software package that we're going to interact with, and that is what we're going to call the Blue Dot, or officially named Heal Advisor Analyze app. Okay, that's the.
So what's the reason for the name, the Resonance edition? So Gold, Health, Health Plus, Resonance. Why do they call it the Resonance?
Yeah, and that's a great question too, because of the first 3 still resonate with your body when they're running those microcurrents. There's still that interaction we talked about on our last video, of how it finds the resonant frequencies and implements those into your body, and that's that super cool, unique system. But the whole point of now we go into Resonance, that app and its ability to now work with your information field, your blueprint. Quite honestly, it's the blueprint of you. And we'll say, well, wait a minute, I've got a genetic code that I got from my ancestors, my parents, or whatever, and that's who I am. Well, there's another code, there's another blueprint to us that's beyond that, right? There's a very detailed intelligence going on, 100 trillion cells sitting here, all operating in unison. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a staff meeting or a board meeting and you get 10 people in there that can't agree on anything, right? It's like, right? I mean, now we got 100 trillion cells working in unison to still look like you every day, right?
Yeah.
Or look like me every day. I'm still the guy. I don't turn into a 6'8", football player. I'm still this size, and I'm still a same gender. Well, there's an intelligence going on about that. And now we're going to tap in or resonate with that information field, and then start bringing through the Healy device, through the what's called a noise generator, or the frequency generator. Through that, we're going to send those same frequencies now into the field of the individual, and influence the blueprint that then rains down on them that becomes their biological and physical self. Right. So this is a whole nother side of energy healing. Have you guys heard of Reiki?
So basically, to review, the first three ones are microcurrents additions, and your brain, your conscious mind has to figure out which program do I actually need.
Yep.
Right. And now the device itself is going to go, hey, we're going to test your body on a frequency and see which one resonates back the strongest, and go, that's the one you need. Right.
That's right. And we're able to now, with that system, start building what I like to call a recipe, essentially picking out very distinct programs that will help align your systems, organs, tissues, cells, emotions, help that balancing protocol. And so it's doing the work for you. It is the practitioner, I guess you might say, right?
Yeah.
So super cool.
One of the ways I describe is for my own coaching clients, I do tons of muscle testing. Mm-hmm. Is it this? Is it that? Is this how much? And while most people can learn how to do muscle testing, it requires a certain aptitude and tons of practice. And when I saw this, I'm like, I think the resonance especially could empower my clients to do what I do for them. Mm-hmm. And indeed, that's what I find. And one of the things I try and deliver for my clients that the Healy does as well is try and get people an aha moment, right? Like you have something, it's been going on forever, and all of a sudden you're like, aha, that's it. And an aha moment typically lends itself to a simpler, faster, more elegant solution.
Yep. And when we can step aside from being the practitioner, because when we try to be as objective as possible, not bring us to the table, there's still a factor that comes to the table. Now, what we've got is we have 100% objective observer, right? They can look at us from the outside, and people are actually more, I guess, allowing of that, right? If we have a technology that's giving us an answer, as opposed to a person, because maybe there's something like, I just like Steve and he's telling me I'm not doing great. I mean, what's the deal? Well, Steven, why you keep telling me I have to do all this stuff? But you're my friend, right? And yet you're giving someone a very intuitive, a very tested, a very developed part of you to help them align themselves. And people don't want to hear it sometimes, right? And so if we have a relationship with them or whatever it is, they may not. Here's a great question. Have you ever tried to coach your spouse? I don't recommend that.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So now we have an objective coach, an objective observer that can now give us some detailed, very, very detailed, very precise information to help us balance. So that's where we're going today.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay.
Well, let's do this. So how do we find this beautiful app, Mr.
So
iPhone
just like
person?
we did before. Yep. Like we did before, is that I'm going to go ahead and share my screen on my phone. And let's see. It's going to ask for permission to share content. You're going to have.
Let me do that for you.
Okay.
Turn on screen sharing. Go for it.
There we go. All right. So now, everybody, whether you're an iPhone user or an Android system user, doesn't matter. You're going to find the app in your app store now, because I'm an iOS user. So we'll use my phone to start with. And here we go. So we're going to go to the App Store. Remember that little teepee looking thing, or the popsicle stick looking thing, the
bottom on the
bottom,
right.
Yep, bottom store. Right down there, next to the red Acrobat thing. So I'm going to click on that. That's the App Store, and it says it at the bottom of there, App Store. All right, click on that. It's going to open up the App Store. And then at the bottom right, there's that magnifying glass, that looking glass thing. That's the search function. So I'm going to click on that search function, and I'm going to type in Healy. Let's just see what comes up. Well, I got Healy app. I got Healy analysis. I got Healy advisor. And what do I pick? Let's just pick one. Let's just pick one and see what we get. Well, look at there. there's the pink dot that we worked on yesterday. And right below it is the blue dot. You see that blue dot there?
There we go.
Gray circle with a little blue dot. All right. Now, in my case, I have loaded this app before on my device. And so there's that cloud configuration with a down arrow. That's because I've deleted it off my device, it's still in the cloud, still available. I just click on that little cloud and it's going to download it back to my device. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Click on that little cloud with a down arrow and it'll do its little spinny thing. And then it's going to load the app onto my device, on my smart device. Okay. So now it's loaded onto my phone. Now I could be doing this with an iPad.
By the way, that was pretty fast. Are you on data or are you on Wi-Fi?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So last time when we were doing this, if you notice at the top of the screen in that red bar up there, coming from the left side, you'll see a fan configuration. So you'll see some bars, you'll see AT Wi-Fi, and then there's this fan condition. So this is saying that I'm on Wi-Fi and I have essentially full fan, or in other words, 4 bars there. That means I have a great connection to my Wi-Fi and I've got good signal, good bandwidth.
How fast is your internet?
Optic.
Optic.
So what's that mean?
Smoking fast.
So that means that it's about the fastest system that you can get is a fiber optic system. It doesn't matter, probably let's go to the other end of the scale. The fastest system is a fiber optic system. A slowest system, sorry not to dog anybody out there, but that's the Dish Network. It's not the fastest.
There you go. I've got fiber myself here.
Yeah.
I pay for a gigabyte and I get about 400.
Right. Isn't that interesting how you
somehow I don't quite understand it, but I'm not willing to sit on customer service
and ask them questions forever.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So yesterday when we were doing this when we were doing this on our last video, I was on the LTE network and we talked a little bit about networks. That's the cellular data and the system in which your cell phone is operating and transmitting data. I'm not talking about phone calls. Yeah. Phone calls are different. That's a cellular communication system. I'm talking about data transfer. There is a certain rate in which data is transferred per second. It kind of determines a bandwidth, and Healy and these apps are bandwidth hungry, right? So it's best to be on a Wi-Fi. And this is why I
found that, especially with the Blue Dot app, because we're going to be doing a lot more stuff that needs some good connection.
Yep. And this is why I'm on the Wi-Fi. I can afford to not be on the Wi-Fi when we're working with Pink Dot. I don't want to do that with this one. So here we are.
So if you're in the country and your internet sucks, maybe you should go to a friend's house to do this.
Yep. Go into town. Make a trip into town, pick up groceries and go to a coffee shop or whatever.
Sit down at Starbucks or something. Yeah. And where you might be helpful.
Look, I would like to talk about that too, because people are doing just that. They're at coffee shops and they're doing this stuff. But again, remember what I said, these are bandwidth hungry. Even though you see at the top of my screen up there, I have full fan, 4 bars. That means I have great connection between my smart device and the router. It doesn't mean that the router is producing a very wide bandwidth to me, because if I got 50 other people in a coffee shop that are on that same system, it will be bogging down the bandwidth. It'll be robbing bandwidth from what you're trying to do. And I did this experiment in my house. So I've got myself and I've got my 2 girls that are on their schoolwork. They're on their computers and they're doing live streams. They're with their class and doing their work. And then I've got my phone and I've got my computer and we're all on the same Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I did this test. I did a how long does it take to download what we're going to call packets of information on this particular Blue Dot with everybody on it. And then the same test with nobody on it. And guess what? 62% faster with nobody on it. It still worked. Yeah. But the amount of time it took to get that accomplished was longer with all those people on it. Okay.
Do it in the morning before your teenagers get out of bed, something like that.
100%. But just know that. I want everybody to record that in their mind.
I've definitely experienced that. It's like, this particular app above anything else I would typically try and load on my phone and do is a little hungrier for bandwidth, as you say, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so let's
Awesome.
open it. There we go. Click on the open button, and now we're opening. Okay, so again, it's wanted certain permissions. So we want to say okay on all these permissions. All right, so we'll say okay for using the Bluetooth, because that's the way it's going to communicate between the app and the smart device.
And notice it said it in German. Sometimes it will not say it in German, sometimes in English, but okay, just hit okay.
Just click next at the bottom. And the reason it comes up in different languages is because, again, at this point, it doesn't know anything about my Healy. It doesn't know anything about my account. And so default is going to be German. It doesn't know anything about my account. Now, interestingly enough, this particular smart device already has a history with the app and with the Healy, because this is not a first time for me. That's why you saw the cloud and that configuration. So it already knows to pick English. It's not going to happen for everybody. So just know that and put that into your memory banks. Okay, let's click next. And now it's saying, you know, hey, here's back where the pink dot did it. Remember, I have a Healy, or I'm interested in a Healy. If you click on I'm interested in a Healy, it takes you to the Healy website where you can buy a Healy. We don't want to go there. I have a Healy. So let's go ahead and click on I have a Healy. And now it's going to, it's asking me to log in. It already found my Healy. Connect to Healy. Yes. All right. Now it's scanning. It should find a serial number, or should find a Bluetooth device that equates to being a Healy. All right.
Yeah. So here's, again, we're back to the typically the second area of frustration. First is just to actually charge it and find the app. Second main area of frustration that people run into is connecting your phone to the actual device, right? And we talked about sometimes you kind of got to wiggle it to make sure it works, right? So
anybody have those toilets
popped right up, right? So sometimes
go ahead.
What were the couple things typically to remind people of the 3 typical solutions that will work if you do it in some order and maybe a couple times occasionally to make this connection?
Yeah. So number one, obviously we're always gonna broadcast this. Charge your Healy. Make sure your Healy's charged up, right? So number 2 is.
By the way, here's how you know it's not charged. If you try and turn it on, it goes blink, 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 boom. You're like, what was that? It was blinking. Now it's not. Yeah, it blinked like 7 times really fast. It go, charge me, charge me, charge me. Bye.
Yeah, I'm dead. I'm dead.
I'm dead. Bye. So if that happens, charge it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the indicator. You're right. That green light tells us a lot, and the blue light only tells us one thing. Either it's Bluetooth connected or not. The green light tells us lots of things, and that's one of them. It tells us that it needs to be charged. Yeah. So in the 3 things, of course, charging it first. Secondly, turn your Healy on first. Now, I have a process that I always recommend. Turn your Healy on first, and then open your app or download your app. Why? Well, the reason is because the Healy itself is broadcasting a signal, right? As soon as you turn it on, it's broadcasting a signal. It's looking for home. What's home? Home is the cloud. It's looking for a home, and what's associated with the Healy is the serial number and your account, and the bridge between that. So this little device and your account, which is somewhere on the internet, is the cloud. And so when you turn it on, it starts to establish that search phase, right? So we're already kind of a little ahead of the game. Yeah. And then when we get to this point, you see that it's actually showing more than one serial number. These are Healys. They're both sitting right here in my, on my table.
Yeah.
And so I picked them both up, and I want to choose the one I'm going to work with today. And and look at the back of it. The back of it's got the serial number.
Like on mine, I put 60
the last 2.
is the 2 of this one. So I know this one's mine. If I pick one up, I know if it's my wife's. So that's very easy for me to know. Got a couple Healys in my house. So
super smart. Super smart. So mine's the 1A at the end. I click on the 1A. And you'll see it says connecting and a little spinny exclamation point going round and round and round. And what's happening on my Healy is my Healy Bluetooth light starts to flash. All right. So
how long can that thing spin before you go, okay, this is not working, let's try something else?
Yeah, you know, if it spins for 90 seconds, that's something's not working, right? Then what do you do? Okay, it spins for 90 seconds. You're sitting there, that leads going around and round and round. You've heard it takes a while, but now here it is, you know, 2 minutes down the road, and you're like, okay, I don't think this is going to work. So what do you do? Shut down the app. Hard close the app. Close it. We talked about how to do that. Remember how you do that?
We talked about that. Double click your home button on your iPhone. It will layer them, and you just swipe it off like you're tossing it off the page, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And there's a little different process.
Yeah, and similarly, and I'll talk later about how to close things on your different programs on your Android app as well. So
okay. All right. So then we put in our.
Well, what else? So I just want to make sure, because
the other thing,
sometimes that doesn't work. What else could we do? So close the app, reopen it.
If you hard close the app and you reopen the app, it's going to go back through that process of establishing connection with your Healy. Remember, your Healy's turned on. It's turned on, and so it's going to look like it's going to look for it, and then if it gets back to that spinny thing again, there's one or two things that could be possible. Normally, you're going to get to this phase right here where you're logging in and it doesn't go any further. But if it happens earlier than this, it could be that your Healy was not scanned when it went out the door, out the warehouse and on its way to you, and it's not activated. Here's where that's going to show up, right? And that is going to be a customer service ticket to get it to be activated. Now, our customer service group here in the US can activate it manually from their end. They just need to have that information from you, your username, the serial number of your device. There's actually in the back office under your support tab, there is a very clear outline of device.
That's
and
an option to choose. Yeah.
With an option to choose, not activated. Right. And that's the easy way.
How about rebooting the device? Do you ever need to do that to make this connection?
At this phase, remember, we are talking about having a brand new device. And at this phase, normally that's not a necessity, because when he's talking about rebooting, that means resetting by hard resetting the actual Healy device. At this phase, it should not be necessary.
Okay.
But that is an option.
I have to do that seemingly occasionally on the Pink Dot app, especially,
And there's and again, if you're using Android versus iOS, that really actually is more app related. Resetting the Healy, resetting the app is actually going to probably have a deeper effect than resetting the Healy. But there's some other things to look at if you're having to do that on a regular basis. We might talk about some. It
seems to work pretty fast if I'm having connection issues. If I reboot it, boom, almost seems to immediately. Anyways, so try a few things.
We've gone over how to reset the actual Healy device, and that's a very valuable lesson and useful tool. You're not going to hurt it by resetting it. You won't hurt it. It's just going to kind of clear its memory. It's going to clear some of the things that are set like this, like rebooting your computer. Similar, right?
I've occasionally had people say, "Oh yeah, I can get my device by doing XYZ." I'm like, "Okay, weird, but did it work?" Yes. Well, alrighty. There you go. I have no idea, right?
I'm the engineer, so I'd probably be able to explain that to you. But I'm more curious. I'm like, wait a minute, could we eliminate that? Can we change the scenario, the sequence?
Exactly.
Maybe?
Yeah.
So right here's where we're going to log in with our email. Don't send me emails, everybody.
So we can. So
anyway,
we'll record it. Don't send Ken any emails. You'll go straight to spam. So this login is the exact login to log into your back office with Healy. Okay. A couple of quick suggestions with that. If you have problems with this, keep in mind, make sure that, this may sound weird, but make sure you actually have the right email. sometimes you might log in with your username and password into your back office. Just double check, what exact email am I using? And you can also double check that you can log into the website with this email and password, and then you know it's accurate. Does that make sense? Just that's sometimes that people run into that. They're convinced that they have the right one, and you check in their back office, they're like, well, that's not even your email address. Like, what are you doing? They're like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Well, some also,
right?
Sometimes people have perhaps maybe, because there's not a double authentication with the email. So you could actually type in a wrong character, put that wrong email address in there with the password you want, and still be able to log in by placing the wrong email address in there. So you need to use the wrong email address here too. Now you need to change it with customer service, but believe me, it may not get changed right here. So you still need to use the wrong information because it'll be the right information here.
Got it.
They're just characters. It's not sending you an email. These are just characters that are in a specific order to give you the login rights, the credentials. All right. So now
I come with this strangely frustrating thing for some people. How do we get all that in green, right?
Now you don't have to read all these policies and procedures. You can by clicking on that. If you click on the underlined policy or privacy policy, it's going to take you to a website, and you're able to read that. It's the same thing with the user agreement or the consent declaration. You can do all that, but if you do, it's going to stop the process. It's going to change the sequence, and you're going to wind up having to come back and do some things over. And here's why. Now, this is a spot in which it's kind of not convenient to go to another website. Why? Because you're getting out of the app.
Yeah, you're disconnecting the Bluetooth again.
You're disconnecting the Bluetooth.
You got to redo it all over. Yeah, that's no fun.
So, if you need to read these things, no worries. Do it later. Try to get through this process first, but go read those for sure to solve your own mysteries. And you're not going to disclose anything prior to going back and being able to do that. So, all right. So now what do you do with these? These are little slide tabs. They look like you should slide your finger over, and you do not. You tap on it. Remember what was the tap?
Right.
The one little
tap. So you tap where you want the thing to go, not where, right? So we're tapping on the right-hand side of that little slot. And when I tap there, the button's going to move over to match it. That's what you do.
See that?
You'd be surprised how many people really get stuck at that spot. They're like, it won't move over. It's like,
yep. It's a small stumbling stone, but it's very much a stumbling stone.
That's why we go through in great detail with all this little stuff.
You'll notice that the login bar, the pink bar there, now kind of highlights, illuminates, or gets brighter. And so we can click on that. Now let's say that you forgot your password. So we could actually, at the bottom, you see that forgot password part?
Yeah.
So you can go there, and what it'll do is it'll verify your username or email, I should say, and then it'll give you the opportunity to reset your password. So that's another opportunity right here. Anyway, I'm going to click.
How often do those emails get stuck in spam very often?
Oh my gosh. Check your spam if you're going to
check your spam. So if you're like, I never got the password reset, just check your spam. Maybe go into this search box of your email and type in 𝗙𝗨 and see maybe where the email went. Just a thought. So.
Okay. So you saw how that it took a little time, the little spinny thing happened round and round and round. Now here's a very significant part that is important here. Your first time setup is not, or I should not look like this. Now I know this is going to be a little bit confusing. Why should it not look like this? Because when your first time setting is up, the system generates a master key based on your login. What's a master key? Here's an important piece. Master key is a super cool deal. The master key is a 4096-bit encrypted file. This is your access key to the cloud between the app, the 𝗙𝗨, and the cloud. This is what unifies it. The master key is generated on an individual basis based on this moment right now. Because I've already done this. Now, this is not a fair example for learning how to set up your Blue Dot, but because I've already done this before, the app and the 𝗙𝗨, the serial number of the 𝗙𝗨 and the cloud already know that I have a master key tucked away somewhere. It already generated that master key. So it's not going to give me a new 4096-bit encrypted key because I already have one. Now I've already been performing some activity with that particular program. So I already have clients. I already have some details and such. So right here, you're seeing the highlighted pink bar import master key. All right. If this was a brand new setup, it would be saying save master key. Yeah. And when you click on save master key, then that's the moment in which it generates it for your account. Now, keep this in mind. There's two distinct things to look for here. Import master key means there's already been one generated. And you say, wait a minute, I'm a brand new customer. I've never done this before. How's that possible? Well, it's possible if it doesn't know that you even have an account. All right. So if you haven't been set up, or in other words, remember before we talked about when customer service or when the warehouse is sending your device out and they're scanning your little code on the side of the box and sending it out. If they miss that process and your device does not get activated, this is where it's going to show up, right? It's going to want to import a master key, and you're going to try to import a master key, and there doesn't one does not exist. What this means is that your device is simply not activated, and this is going to require.
Okay, that's good to know. So then go back office, bottom left under support, make a support ticket. It will prompt you one of the options to activate device, and they will do that.
Right? And it'll do that. All right.
So here's one thing to keep in mind for everybody. If you want to see what it looks like to save your master key, here's how you would find that. On YouTube, simply search these words, 𝗙𝗨𝗘𝗥𝗔𝗣𝗬 save master key. You'll probably find 4 different videos, shorter or more succinct, specifically for that portion. Okay. Yeah. So there's always tons of resources you can go to. Just search YouTube. Someone's done a nice video. I've probably done a couple of videos just on that one spot. So
we'll get one up here also, and when we can do this with somebody that's setting up a brand new 𝗙𝗨𝗘𝗥𝗔𝗣, and we'll go through that process on it. And the other consideration to think about too, this process needs to be done with a brand new 𝗙𝗨𝗘𝗥𝗔𝗣 on a brand new smart device, a smart device that has never been set up with a 𝗙𝗨𝗘 before, because there's a master key already on your smart device if you've ever set up a 𝗙𝗨𝗘 on it. And so even if you get a brand new 𝗙𝗨𝗘, it could very easily come up to this screen right here, because it's gonna want to use, you see the 3 options down there below? Activate device with existing master key. What that means, it gives me the opportunity with a brand new 𝗙𝗨𝗘 that I don't need a master key. I can activate it with a master device. In other words, I can activate it with, this smartphone can activate another smartphone, right? With the same 𝗙𝗨𝗘. So that option is in the back, and I'll show it to you. Let me just go to click on that particular function. I clicked on activate device with existing master device. That's going to look for any other devices that I've ever put my 𝗙𝗨𝗘 on, right? And I have a couple. It's looking for this encryption. Master key needed. Okay, so it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't find your other device. I do have other devices, but I've cleared them off. I cleared all these apps off of there. So just give it a minute to go through its process. How long should this take? Again, it could take 90 seconds. If it takes longer than 90 seconds, then we could be lost in a loop. Sorry.
And so if you're lost in a loop, then what are we doing? Closing are we going to hard close this app?
Yep. We're going to hard close the app, and we're going to reestablish connection.
Got it.
The other 2 functions you see below there, reset cloud account or log in with another account. Now, remember what I said, you can do a CS ticket. If you have a brand new customer, brand new device, and you're stuck right here, if you click on reset cloud account, now that's going to literally reset your cloud account and generate a master key. This is a way to get past. See, 𝗙𝗨𝗘 Healy gave us the freedom to activate our own device. And this is a spot in which it can happen. When we set on reset cloud account, this is a point in which we can literally activate our own device. I'm not saying that's 100% foolproof, because there could still be a missing entity with your invoice, with the cloud identification of you. But this gives another opportunity to get past that if all those other things are working right.
Yeah. And
all
so
right.
they did this because the shipper was dropping the ball too much on devices, and they're having to activate too many. And so they added this option right here, reset.
They added that option right now, right there. Okay.
And so why would you, in your situation, not want to reset your cloud account?
As I mentioned earlier, that since I have been using my Blue Dot program and the app, I have clients set up already in there. I have scans that I've already done with myself and other people. And so all that data is collected under my master key. And so if I reset that, then I reset my entire cloud account and the master key, and I wipe all that out. So any of that stored information gets wiped out. And it's not a bad thing.
It's not the end of the world, but all of a sudden now you don't have any more clients. And if you want to do any more scans for somebody, you've got to go through, put all the information in and scan them. We'll be showing you how to do that. But if someone was a practitioner with a lot of clients in there, that would be a big pain.
That would be a big thing. And again, if you are a practitioner, typically you've got client files and things that you've got some backup information to, but still, things happen. So it's good to have the backup information. All right. So now it's been long enough. I'm going to reset this and I'm going to go back and change things a bit. Oh, actually what I just did right there was I just clicked on import master key because it wasn't finding something. Let's go ahead and do this, go down this rabbit hole for a moment. Okay. So import master key. Now what it's doing is looking on my phone for anything that's called a master key. Now I can put up in the search bar at the top, see that search? Mm-hmm. The master key has a very distinct extension. What's an extension? Well, at the end of a file, there's a dot and then some information, right?
Yeah. And like .jpg for a picture, .pdf for an Adobe Acrobat file, .doc for a Windows document. Yeah.
And in Healy, it's a .json. Now look down that list and see if there's anything that you see that says
I do. Copy of Healy JSON.
There you go. So so it's there. I can actually go and click on it, but I want to show you the search function. If you just go up here and put in just JSON. Oops, let's go back here. .json and look for it. Why is it not finding that? That's interesting. It's right there, right?
Yeah. Things aren't always foolproof.
Well, and this is why.
Do you do star.json?
No, it should just find the JSON files, but weird. I'm just going to let's do it one more time.
What happens if you do
there?
There you
So
go.
.json, or I didn't even put dot, just JSON. Now it's finding all the things that have a JSON at the end. And there are several. Now there's copies of the same file. I'm just going to pick the top one. All right. So we're just going to click on the top one. Now, why would I pick the top one? If you'll notice, there's underneath each one of these files, there's a date. So 9/20 of 20. And the other ones that look the same with the same date, probably the same file. They're not the same file, but the same time in which they were generated. Because I can generate my master key over and over and over and over, save it to all kinds of places, but it's the same master key. All right. Yeah. So I'm just going to click on the very top one. All right. So I clicked on the very top one. Now the system is saying, well, import failed. All right. So what's that mean? It says that particular master key is an invalid master key. It's very picky. This master key is a 4096-bit encrypted system. I may have to reset my cloud account in order to get the proper master key, right? So let's go take a look at one of the others. Again, up at the search bar, JSON, choose that. There's another one, third file down, click on that one. Let's see what that one does. All right. Import successful.
Boom. There you go.
So
one thing I do is initially when I set it up is I do change the name of the file, but not the extension of it. So, and we'll show you that under my account, it'll see like Stephen Master, Samara Master, Ali Master. So we'll go into that bit so you can find it a little easier.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another way of identifying it. If you've got, and maybe sometimes when you save your master key multiple times, it does generate a little different extension on that master key. So anyway, so now we are at the import successful. We click on OK. The next thing that this system is going to do is going to sync. It needs to sync the.
So let's pause real quick and just briefly say your first time doing this is going to ask you to save the master key. It's going, and we'll hopefully on my phone it will ask me to do that, but it will give you options on how to save it. You can, I would suggest the easiest thing is when you hit save, you'll see an email icon. Click on that and email it to yourself and maybe to your spouse or somebody else. And in the subject line, type in master key, right? So you've sent it to a couple people and hopefully you can find it in your email or they can resend it to you. Like if you totally lose your phone, I will also personally save it to my Google Drive. I've got a folder for master keys. I'll save it there as well. If you're on an iPhone, you may save it to your iCloud somewhere as well. So yeah, just send it multiple places. Yeah.
You noticed when it was looking for the master key, it pulled up. It's going to only look for the master key on your smart device. It's not going to go to your email and look for it. But yeah, you, at least the fact that you emailed it yourself, that's great advice. I highly recommend you email it to yourself because now it's somewhere that doesn't live on your phone. So what if you lose your phone, right? And it doesn't live on your phone. It's in your email. So you've got it still as a backup. But you still do need to have it on your phone. So you could put it in your files tab of your phone if you know how to do that. Like you said, you can put it in your Google Drive. You can put it in your Dropbox. Those are some places that you can put it on your device. That way it's on or accessible on your device as well.
Yeah.
So now we have to sync the changes. When you get your app, when you go to your app store and you download the app, you get basically a skeleton of an app. It really doesn't do anything yet. You have to load it up with all the cool features that Healy has for you in this particular resonance model or edition. So I have to click on sync changes. Now what's going to happen, it's going to start, you can see a progress bar at the bottom of the screen. You're going to see what it's doing. Loading clients, downloading lists. So it may not have any clients. You don't have to have any clients, but it's still going to download these packets. In other words, the packets are in the app, a spot in which you can put clients. And what are clients? Well, there's a whole database about what a client is. It's an individual, it's an animal, it's a plant, it's a building, it's an organization, a group. So we can have clients, and we'll go over that later, but clients that are like various different entities. That's super cool about that. It's going to download lists. Well, what are lists? Well, lists are, this is a spot in which it saves all of your scans. All of your scans, and these are called lists. Well, they've got to build that structure where all those lists will be filed away for your clients. And then it's going to download translations. What are translations? Well, translations, again, this system has a very unique way of objectively looking at you and looking at what the best version of you, and then building bridges or translations, again, about what it would mean to do. How would we do that? These are the translations.
So it's not languages, it's other more frequency type languages.
Exactly. So these are, when we're talking about translations, you're right. It's not translating English to German or German to Swedish or whatever. It's not that. We're talking about how do we translate one's present state into their desired state,
Yeah.
Okay. How do we do that?
By the way, yours is going super fast. A lot of people complain. They're like, mine's stuck at 5%. It doesn't go anywhere. Right? Why is that? What happens to people?
Yeah. Well, again, you could get stuck. It can start this process and get to what typically there's a stopping point. It's at 5% or at 10%. The largest blocks are getting past those first segments of building your app is the first 5 and 10%. And if it sticks at one of those two, then basically you've got a failure. Somewhere there's a failure in the communication system between the app and the cloud.
Yeah.
And if it's sitting there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's probably stuck.
So here's one thing to be real clear. Part of what we want to do with this channel, and we talked about looking in the comment section under the main video for updates. Part of it is, say, for example, if there's a known issue right now in Germany, that there was an update with the Apple, or the thing is not communicating with Apple, and they know, and it's not working at all right now, right? It will behoove you to check for the update and go, oh, I see they're having an issue. Maybe I won't spend the next 8 hours trying to get my phone to sync. I'll just put it aside, come back tomorrow, right? Because it doesn't matter what you're going to do for right now. There's something's broken. Don't worry about it, right? And you're going to have like 10,000 other people trying to log on and do the exact same thing as well. And so you're just like, it's like, hey, just don't worry about it. Come back. Let everything work itself out. It'll be easier tomorrow or the next day.
Yep. Yeah. And that's true. Access times, no different than if in the morning, everybody's getting online to go to do their virtual school, right? You got, thousands and thousands of students tasking the internet alone. I mean, we're thinking about our Wi-Fi at our home. We also have to think about the entire trunk in which our house is connected to, and how much data is being streamed through that whole branch, and what's going on there. So maybe pick a different time of day, right?
Yeah.
And remember, the cloud is accessed by people all over the world. And Germany gets up at a certain time in the morning and then starts working on things. And if whatever they did is messing up the cloud, we're like, uh-oh, all of a sudden it's going to freeze up.
Yeah.
In fact, now let's watch this, because it looks like it could have froze up right here, right? At the top of the screen, we still see we have Wi-Fi. We still see that we've got, fairly good signal. And the device itself still has the blue light flashing, and the green light is still flashing. So what's going on? We're stuck. So sometimes there is a struggle with data transfer. There could be, all of a sudden we got so many different blocks of information downloaded to our app, and then the system got busy and kicked us off. All right. Well, they kicked us off for a minute, but you just saw, wait, be patient, give yourself some time, give the system time, because it could kick you out of the sequence. If you're in line on customer service, and you're waiting, and you're saying, oh, you're number 4 in line, and you're number 3 in line, and pretty soon you're like, oh, you're number 10 in line. What happened? Right?
Wait a second.
It's possible. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you saw that we were patient. I didn't reset the app. I didn't close the app. I just sat there and be patient for a minute, and boom, we're back in business. So
perfect. Success.
Synchronization complete successfully. Okay. So I click on the okay. Boom. Now what?
Do you want me to do my phone real quick first?
Yes. So I'm all good to go. I'm ready to roll. Let me show you what you're seeing here at the top of the screen real quick. It's saying analysis, and it shows the little battery thing right there, the percentage. That's how much charge I have in my Healy. And then right above that is another percentage. That's the actual charge on my smart device. So don't get those confused.
Okay.
Your smart device has a different battery indication. If it's within the app, it's going to be the Healy, not your device. All right. Right next to it is another little fan. Take a look at that. that little fan thing is another indicator. It's not your Wi-Fi. That's the connection of the Bluetooth, the strength of the Bluetooth connection to the app, not the Wi-Fi. All right, so just understand that.
So cup your hands over it again. Demonstrate to people how weak that signal actually is. You know?
Yeah. So if I cup my hand over the, well, it's pretty weak right now. Actually, there's not a whole lot of
already weak, huh?
And so the signal between my smart device, my smart device and my Healy right now is not very strong. It's still working, but it's just not very strong. So
yeah, so we demonstrated that on the video that we did on the Pink Dot app, how merely cupping your hands over it, and when we did it last time, it shrunk that signal right down, showing that it was, so it's a Bluetooth, what do you call it? Very low.
Yeah, it's a very low signal. VLS is a very low signal. Yeah, it's not a very strong Bluetooth signal.
Cool.
Okay, so you want to switch over to yours?
Yeah, so I'm gonna stop your sharing, and then I'm gonna go into mine, and we'll do the same thing on mine. Clear all this off here. Okay, so on mine, we look for the Google Play Store, and sometimes if I'm flipping through it, I'm not seeing it. So if I go to the search bar and just type in Play Store right there, okay. And if I go in the top and I type in Healy,
it also shows your last search, which Healy is already there, right? If you already did the Pink Dot.
So we already have the Pink Dot, and I already know I have it downloaded because it says open instead of download. And I see the Heal Advisor Analyze, and I can faintly see the little blue dot on that. That's the one I want. So I open it up, and I can install it because it's not currently installed. And you notice it looks slightly different than the iPhone, but you can still kind of intuitively figure out what to do here. Okay, boom, open. All right. Now currently I don't have this on yet, so I'm gonna do that. Push the button, power button, nice and firmly. Again, I find it interesting on this little device on that power button how strong you actually have to push it to actually make the power button. Your power button will never accidentally get pushed and turn it on and off. I promise you that. This is not happening. Okay, so we go next. I have a Healy. Yes, I do. And I need to log in. Please connect your Healy to register in the cloud. Okay, well, let's do it. The Heal Advisor wants to access this device location. So if I click allow only when using the app, is that sufficient?
Yes. Yeah. Make sure you do that because people are feeling a resistance or reluctance to do that. And when you do that, it's not going to work.
So why does it need to know where I live?
There's a couple of things. First of all, remember, this is a worldwide product. So what's your language? Most likely, if you live in the United States, it's going to want to be able to.
And is it a US device versus, I mean, does it think anything like that?
Well, this hardware can be any part of the country, any part of the planet. So you're probably, because you ordered on your US account and it was shipped out of our US warehouse. So yeah. It's a US device. But again, it's looking at tendencies and typicals, which are your language. So
got it. Okay. So I see my Healy here in the middle. I don't have multiple ones showing up at the moment, but I also know that for me, I just have written on the back 6E. So I'm like, okay, there's 6E right there.
Look at the difference for a second. What difference between Android and iOS? Android is showing all of his Bluetooth devices. So there's some other Bluetooth devices that are showing up on his list. Just know that yours is going to say Healy, and then, like you said, look at the serial number.
All right. Now my phone has my passwords remember logging in here, and I know that winning the inner game at gmail.com is the one I want. And then again, like we talked about, you don't slide it over. Like if I'm moving my finger right now across my screen over the top of that thing to the right, nothing's happening at all. If I tap on the right-hand side part where I want it to go, boom, there it goes. Tap, tap, tap. So just like this, not tap and hold, just boop, bink, 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 done. Okay. Like we talked about, the login is now highlighted. I look at my app, it's still blinking nicely. Okay.
Yep. The device is blinking.
We got blinky. We're good to go. Import master key. Okay. So again, if this is my first time, I would want to save it. And personally, I would, when I hit the save button, it's going to give me icons of different apps to do that with. I would choose my email app, hit it. In the subject line, I would put master key and I would send it to myself, maybe to my wife, so that in the future I could get it back. Okay. So for me, when I import it, if I just maybe type in master, let's see what happens. Search on my phone for master. All right, master. Don't see it there. Now I know on my phone I put it in my drive. And so I'm going to click on that Google Drive icon, which was on the left. And I see that folder right here, master key. So I'm going to open that. And interesting, I don't even see my own master key in here.
Now, who created that file there, Stephen?
So I created this folder myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember, in your Google Drive or in your Dropbox or anything like that, you can create and name files and make it easier for you to remember. But if you don't name a file, if you haven't done any of that in the past, then it's not going to show up this way.
You know, interesting. I didn't see my master key under
in your file.
My file, and I don't see it there. So here's what we can do.
You can also try that .json search.
Yeah, we could try that.
Let's try that and see what the Android does.
.json search.
Registry.json.
I don't know if that's mine though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So here's what I can do. I'm gonna go out of this. I'm gonna go into my Gmail account. I'm going to search, top search right there. I'm going to type in master key.
And that's because you put that in the subject line somewhere along the line when you sent it.
Correct. See, I see me, Samara's master key, Christy starter kit, master key, nobody. That was some other lady's master key is doing for her. Me, master key. Oh, here we go. Master key, Stephen. That's the one I want right there. Right. So if I open this up and I'm going to,
that little arrow, there's a download arrow.
Yeah. So I could download it or I could save it if I hit the, right here. We're going to just type in Stephen master. And so I can put that, I rename the file and I'm going to hit folder because I want to choose a different folder. No, I don't want the DMV folder. There we go. So I'm going to save that master key into my master key folder. Right. I also want to show you what it would look like if I simply download it. So that download button, the arrow down, I'm going to hit that. And notice at the top of my phone, you see this down arrow going like this. If I put my finger at the very top of my phone and I drag it down, it will show everything. And I can see, yep, I saw Heley master key downloaded there.
Take a look at that number. You see it says Heley-master-key- and a number, another dash.
Yep.
And then .json. That particular name don't change. Keep that name the same. When the app is looking for a file, it's looking for the .json.
Yeah.
So put that particular file somewhere in its entirety without a different name on your smart device somewhere. because you don't opening that file. If you open that file, you're just going to see a whole bunch
Do
of
not
jargon.
open your file ever.
You won't. It's going to be numbers, letters, digits.
Yeah, it's got pages and pages and pages and pages. Don't do that. Right.
4,096 of them. It's like,
so here's one thing. I want to get back to the 𝗙𝗧 app. On the bottom left-hand corner, you see those 3 vertical lines. On the Android, this is the way to kind of tile everything. Remember, on the iPhone, we kind of tiled it. I can close things from here, right? I can close, swipe up that. I don't want to close the zoom. Swipe.
That's your email.
Actually, I think probably right here, if I go back, don't know if that was it. Okay, there we go. Please enable us to reach your files.
Yeah, yes, so that needs it to be able to look at your phone. That's another permission.
Now we see at the very top of recent files on phone, we see that 𝗙𝗧 master key that I just downloaded. So I'm going to grab that one.
And remember, this little spinny thing, this encryption process, it's not instantaneous. It takes 90 seconds or so. I mean, allow that.
Your master key successfully imported. Yay. Okay.
Nice.
So now I'm going to hit sync changes.
You'll see this looks just like what mine did, or what the iOS does.
So while my phone is doing this, why don't we go back to your device, and we'll come back and update you on how long this is taking. But let's go back to yours, and we can start talking about the app and what we're doing here.
Okay. So let's see. Did I leave our call with my device? It looks like I did. Didn't mean to do that. When again, I am always closing the things that are running in the background. I'm always closing those. Why? Because that has a tendency to slow things down. And so we want to make sure that that we're let me shut this down, that we are closing these things that are consuming CPU resources in the background. You saw how so the problem is, you saw Steven there when he was closing things, swiping them out of the way. He didn't close the zoom because I would have closed the zoom on his phone. I did that. That's why it's not on there. All right, so let's bring my device back online. We're gonna share the screen. I'm back on, and we'll be able to see what mine is doing in the background. Okay, there is the app, and it's back kind of where we left off. Take a look at the percentage of the battery at the top. It's 98%. It was at 99, I think, before. So used a little battery life while we were sitting in the background. But right next to that, there's that little fan, and it shows that my signal strength has gotten better in the meantime. So we talked about how if I was to cup the 𝗙𝗧 in my hand and see if that signal decays at all, it may not.
Not this time. Yesterday it worked great.
Yeah, it's not going to decay that signal. That's okay. So what we got here is we have, let's look at the bottom of the screen for a moment. We have the little house. We have what looks like a heartbeat thing, and then this thing that looks like a gear at the bottom of the screen. And those mean different things. The gear, let's just go over that gear for a moment. This is our settings tab, or a settings screen. Kind of like the hamburger that we saw. We talked about the 3 dashed lines at the top left of the screen on the pink dot. This is where we get to those similar settings on the blue dot. And that's at the bottom right of the screen, that gear. And what we can do here is we can change languages. We can go to cloud settings. You see cloud settings there. And there's info. Well, what's under info? That's going to be some stuff about your app version. You're going to see the connect to 𝗙𝗧. If you want to switch to a different 𝗙𝗧 and connect to a different one, this is where you would do that. The 𝗙𝗧 website, That's basically the 𝗙𝗨 website, again, where you'd go and you could buy a 𝗙𝗨. Contact information is about the company. And at the bottom, what's down there? The manual. Very good piece of literature. I think that one's like 46 pages, 47 pages. That's the 𝗙𝗨 Analyze app manual. You're going to want to take a look at that. And I recommend people go there and then save that PDF somewhere in your files on your computer, or maybe if you want to put it on your smart device, you can put it in your files there that you can go back and read that and refer to that. Definitely read that.
And some people like reading it better than listening to us. Quick question for you on cloud settings. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of people saying, oh, my 𝗙𝗨 won't sync to cloud. Can you still use it if it's not syncing at the moment? I mean, is that like a deal breaker if your device is not syncing to cloud?
Well, remember what I said, when you first load this app to your smart device, it's a skeletal structure of the app. It's not loaded with anything. But then when we do that syncing process and the databases and the lists and the translations and all that stuff gets loaded to the app, now we have meat on the bones per se. And it can start doing some jobs. The interaction between the app and the 𝗙𝗨 and the 𝗙𝗨 with the app. So we can start working together. So, if we are saving things to the cloud, if we are putting our client data lists and stuff in there, then if the cloud is offline or having problems, then we're not going to be able to do those functions while we're doing our scans. But let's go ahead and go to cloud settings and take a look. So here's the cloud settings where we have the user information. We can edit the profile information. We can change our password. We can also
would that actually work there if you changed your password there? Is it syncing very well between, you know, the device and the app and your back office?
You won't be able to change the unique piece of our login credential is the email address. And so if that's, remember we said earlier, if that's wrong when you initially set up your account, it's still going to be wrong here. You can't change it here. You can change your password, but you can't change your email address. That's still a customer service function. So you're not gonna be able to edit that. The only place you can edit stuff, you'll see that little pencil there on the side where it says edit cloud profile. Your email is only going to be a changeable thing or a changeable part of the credentials through customer service. The password you can change though.
Got it.
Key management. Here's where the master key stuff. You've got, if you click on that little arrow next to connected cloud devices, you're going to see the different cloud devices that are connected to or have access to your master key. It takes a minute for that to show up in this screen. There they are. And so I have 3 devices that have access to that same cloud account. And this is where I've been able to share the same 𝗙𝗨 on multiple smart devices. And I've done that. Okay. So let's back up. And then underneath that thing where underneath the connected cloud devices, there's master key, backup master key. So I can click on that. Here's what you would see during the setup phase under a brand new.
Oh yeah, we could do that right here. That'd be perfect.
Here's where you would see it. And that's what that's what I wanted to do when we got to this part. I can now show you exactly what it looks like to save the master key and what comes up after this function. So we'll go ahead and click on the save master key. And it's going to now pop up with what can I do with it? Okay, well, look at that. There's some of the people I've connected with. I can text it to people. I can email it to folks. I can airdrop it to myself. I also have some other options here. I can put it in my Dropbox. I can save it as a file on my device. But as Stephen mentioned, we want to email it to ourselves. I've already done that, so I really don't need to. But I can put it in my Drive. I can messenger it to myself. I can put it in my notes file on my phone. Whatever I have done in the past with this smart device in terms of saving files will show up here. If you have a brand new smart device and you haven't done anything, you haven't even set up your email, you're going to be pretty limited here when it's time to save your master key. So there's certain things you're going to want to have your device set up to do in advance. So I'm just going to pick one. Let's just save it to files at the very bottom down there. save to files. I'm going to click on that. It's going to show you the master key designation, master key dash numbers dash or .gson. It will be saved on where? Well, on my iPhone. I can put it in my iCloud drive. I'm just going to go ahead and put it there under downloads. All right. And then say save. Done. Now it's saved there. I can go actually to my smart device. I can go to my cloud and I can look at it right there. But I just wanted to show you that example of the options you have. Once you get to that point, that's a real time.
Maybe send it to your teenager in case you need to find it.
you want to be able to operate,
because you're going to forget. You know, some people are going to forget all about if they ever have to do it. They're like, I have no memories of what to do it. That's and right. Just go, hey, remember I sent you that file? I need it. Send it to me.
There you go. And they'll know exactly what to do.
They'll know exactly what to do. Yeah.
The bottom section there says synchronization options. There's some options there for synchronizing your device. You can use mobile data connection for synchronizing. I recommend turning that on because if you don't have Wi-Fi, how else are you going to synchronize? It's going to need to use your mobile data. And if you don't have a mobile plan that has any data, then this function is not going to work. And you know, well, what's that mean? Well, you mean I have to have data on my mobile plan. If you have T-Mobile, AT&T, you know, Verizon, whoever you have, there's a data plan that goes along with that, because not only are you making cell phone calls and using the cell system, but if you're using your smart device to do anything on the internet, do anything with large file shares, such as picture share or something like that. If you're looking at email transfers, that's all done through your data. All right. So you're going to need to have a data plan. If you don't have a data plan, if you have a device, here's another thing. If you have a device that just has no data plan, because you can have a device that just uses Wi-Fi, and you can simply unclick this right here where it says using your mobile data, because say your smart device does not have a data plan. You just bought this bare bones phone to use your Helion.
Or tablet or something like that.
You don't have to have a phone number with a data plan on that device, on that smart device. You can just use the Wi-Fi. So this particular top function right here would not be relative. All right. The next function right there where it says automatic sync. Automatic sync means that every time you open your app, this is going to try to synchronize your information to the cloud. That may not be convenient if you're wanting to get busy doing something with the app, right? You're waiting for it to do some synchronization. It's happening in the background, but it's also requiring bandwidth of whatever you're connected to, AKA your Wi-Fi. So you may want to turn that auto sync off and choose to synchronize at your leisure, right? When you're not doing other things. So you just click that little dot. Remember, I said it's a tap. If you turn it on, it's going to want to confirm that you've turned it on, and I can say yes. If you turn it off, there's no confirmation to turn it off. But again, that's a tap. Remember, it's a tap on that little slide bar. And then below that one is sync or list sync enabled. Now, when we do scans, this particular software is going to create lists around the data it collected from your scan. That's called a list. And there's lists that are within the auric scans, lists within the resonance scans, but they're still called lists. And they're associated to you as the client, or your friend or your family, whoever is the client. All these lists are connected to them as results of these scans. They're calling them lists. So we either turn this.
Here's a question for you, Ken.
Yep.
Say I use my resonance, and a lot of times I'll put someone in once as a client, but never do another scan on them, just demo. Is it helpful sometimes to go through all your client lists and delete a bunch of these files in case I'd have to resync? Would it save time in doing it in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you saw at the beginning when Stephen and I were both synchronizing data. and the little bar moved across the bottom of the screen, which is part of it was clients, part of it was lists. If you have a whole bunch of information there, then certainly it's going to take a while. It's going to take longer if there's a lot of lists and a lot of clients. So if you've cleared all that out and deleted all of them that you don't need or don't want anymore, that's going to shorten up that.
By the way, right here, I've got a message. Failed. It says synchronization failed. Please see the details. Is not possible. Connect to the cloud server. Interesting. Yours worked and mine didn't. So should I cancel and close apps, or should I just hit the repeat sync button?
So your options at the bottom of that screen are repeat or cancel, right? And so you Correct. Can, I would recommend, first of all, repeating the process. Number one, repeat the process. Because any part of that synchronization that gets corrupted, whether it's because you lost Wi-Fi for a moment, whether you got a phone call on your device, whatever's going on, whether CPU's resources are low because of other things going on in the background, whatever it is, that can compromise that process and give you that error. So give it another shot, try it again. If it's something that happens, I usually will do it 3 times. You know, if it fails 3 times, 3 strikes, you're out. Then I cancel and I do over, right?
So sometimes you just have to have a little patience.
Yeah, and there's a lot of information. Here's the thing about 𝗙𝗨𝗘𝗏 and about these apps. If you knew what was going on behind the scenes, this is an artificial intelligence system that is, there's a tremendous amount of things that are synchronizing at the same time. And it's an orchestration. And you know how an orchestra is. If one section is off key, then the whole thing sounds like junk, right?
Yeah.
So this is the same way. If one section is compromised, then the whole thing is not going to work. And 𝗙𝗨𝗘 is going to say, sorry, I want this to work 100%. I want it to work right. I'm not going to compromise the outcome of your scan of the lists we're going to generate because some information is missing. So it's going to make you start over or fail. So,
and I got that error again. So this time I'm going to close everything out and try again, including I purposely closed the Zoom app running in the background because I don't want, it almost looked like it had been trying to sync and something else popped up.
Yep, that's possible. Something else consumed resources. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn my use mobile data for sync on because this is a mobile phone and I've got data there, or I've got mobile data. And I'm also going to turn on my sync the lists, but I'm not going to turn my auto sync on. That's just my preference. You know, you can do what you want. Only it's my preference for the reasons I stated. Below that, you're going to see the last sync was 11 minutes ago. And the number of changes waiting for sync is 0. Because I just did a sync really very recently, there's no information there. There's no client lists. There's no data lists that I created, nothing. But below that, if I want to manually do some synchronization, that full synchronization is actually a button. I can tap on it and it will full sync everything from my app, everything from the cloud, everything from my device. So it's going to synchronize. Then below that is another one called upload all data to the cloud. So in other words, if I just want to upload the lists and the clients and everything I've done with the app, just shoot that to the cloud and not download anything to the cloud, right? Then I can do that. So one is a little bit faster than the other. Full synchronization takes a little bit longer. Upload to the cloud takes a little bit less time. And we can do that real quick. I'll just go ahead and do an upload data to the cloud real quick. I'm going to click on that and you'll see the little spinny thing under sync in process. And you're going to see what it's doing. Progress bar, synchronization to the cloud, and a progress bar moving across the screen. Not much information to send up there, but again, it's verifying everything. So it could take a little bit of time. Meanwhile, this is what it looks like. Okay. Stephen, are you coming back online with yours?
I had to, you know, it's interesting. I actually had to, I ended up restarting my phone and rebooting the app because it kept on freezing on my phone.
Yep.
And so On your Android, if you want to restart it, you hold down the power button on the side for long enough till it gives you a restart option.
Yeah, and that's necessary. I recommend this. Sometimes, you know, people are using their phones for so many things all the time. I mean, and they never turn it off. They just plug it in when it needs to be charged. So this turning the phone off process literally resyncs all the processor entities with the various functions of the phone. Everything from the display matrix to the email addresses, all that stuff gets reallocated when you turn the phone off and back on. It's a reboot, and it will make things more efficient. So I highly recommend doing that every day, by the way, with your smart device.
Now, that's good advice.
Now, while this is doing this little synchronization in the background, I can actually go and do other stuff. Right?
Perfect.
I can, at the bottom of the screen, you saw the heartbeat. This is where I would actually do scans. Over on the far left is the house. This is where I would actually set up a client. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to set up a client. Just to show you what's accessible, if I click on clients, I have clients and people that I've looked at before. If I click on lists, it's going to show all the lists of every scan I've ever done for any person that I've ever done. Now, I want you to look at this distinction. Do you see some things look like a kind of a blue hue and others look like a pink hue? So this app is sectioned into aura and resonance, like you saw here, like you saw here under the heartbeat, where there's two types of scans that we can do. One is the resonance analysis, which is the body. The other is the aura analysis, which is the energy around the body, the fields of the body, around the body, okay? So our lists are separated in that fashion as well. In a quick visual aid, blue, whoops, decline that, sorry, getting a call. When we get a call, this could stop the 𝗙𝗧𝗘 app and kick us out. So if it kicks you out, because this is a real time, remember, this is real time, you may have to restart your app. If you get a phone call.
Sometimes a good reason why to have it on a secondary device.
That's right. This is on a primary device that I'm actually, you know, I do everything with. But if you have it on your secondary device, then nobody's going to call you that, because maybe that secondary device doesn't even have a phone line, right? That's another advantage. But take a look here. We have the blue and the pink hue gives us the opportunity to visually see the difference between the blue representing the resonance scans and the pink representing any of the auric scans. So pretty quick and easy way to look at that, right?
And you can see below people's names what the scan was, and we'll go into more detail, you know.
Yep.
Scan,
yep. You'll see
learning, all that.
What the different databases were. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and set up a client. So here's our client list. At the top of the screen, you click on add new client. Take a look at what we can have. Remember I mentioned earlier, person, animal, plant, organization, building, whatever. I'm a person. So we're going to set up a person. All right. Actually, let's go back. I'm going to set up an animal. All right. Because I'm already in there. I don't want to set me up twice.
Perfect.
But I might want to set up my fluffy little fur ball. All right. So in order
to do Australian Shepherds need any emotional support.
I have an Australian Shepherd and I have a Border Collie. So yeah.
Oh, well, the Border Collie would take the cake for sure.
Yes. So what we want to do is we want to bring a picture, and it's going to ask me to use, well, actually I can choose to take a picture, and I'm going to go over and I'm going to take a picture of my Border Collie. Excuse me 1 minute.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a picture. Let's see.
Alrighty, so we see him going through and turning on permissions from his iPhone so that he can use the camera on his phone to take the picture of the dog. And like before, he may have gotten out of the app and had to reconnect, but it doesn't look like it. Personally, if I do this, I find it a little helpful to have already taken the picture of this person I want as a new client before jumping into the Heal Advisor Analyze app.
Okay, yeah. There's my little girl. Let's see if I pull her in. Oh, so take a look at this real quick. Because of all the switching, now it's it's in German. And so I am literally going to close the app. Here we go. We're going to close the app and I'm going to open it back up. It's important to know that if I lose connection, what we're doing right now in these scans with the Resonance app, it's real-time stuff and it needs probably the most integrous connection possible. And if I go out and do other stuff, it could throw me out. It can throw that whole system off. So let's go back and like Stephen said, that having a picture in your wheelhouse already, like in your gallery.
I find it hard to believe that you don't have a picture of your dog on your phone somewhere already.
I do. I mean, I can just go in there and take a look at
I'm sure you have like a million pictures if you're like me, right?
My little fur ball. And so, cause I have, if you go to, let's just find my pets.
There you go.
What do you mean I don't have any pictures of my pets? Okay, I got so let's just pick our little girl here. Here she is. And we want her pretty face right in the middle.
Sometimes I have dog clients and the border collies are the most psychic of all the dogs I work with, far and away.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, like the owners will say, oh yeah, this dog is attached to my daughter and I will know that my daughter is on her way home about 45 minutes before she gets here because of how the dog is acting.
That's so cool.
Her dog knew that her daughter was in danger in a forest fire halfway across the state.
Yeah, that is so cool. They are. Yeah.
Crazy cool.
They're not blocked by all the frontal lobe psychology of things. They're just in tune.
Yeah. And unfortunately, often for border collies, that also means they need a little bit more support than your average dumb dog,
That's right, because they're very, very smart.
Oh yeah, everything's turned up a bit, for sure.
So if you notice, what I did was I kind of sized the picture, and I like to put the client's nose right in the middle of the picture, and there's a reason for that. We'll show you later on when we start doing some aura analysis. Okay, so I'm going to put her name in there. Her name is Charlie. And I'll put her last name in there. Now, it's important to actually tap in the field and make sure your cursor is flashing in that field, because sometimes you tap on it and you start typing, but nothing's going on because the cursor's not there. So this is just some small little things to pay attention to. Her birth date. Now this, take a look here. I get a lot of folks who are like, well, how do I have to scroll through every year or every month to get to the different year? No, see, I can scroll years at a time, right? Yeah. Instead of going, some people are stuck with month after month after month going backwards in time.
And on the Android, you can first, when I'm working with a client, just to save time, I go, okay, what year were you born? And on the upper left-hand corner of the client thing, I can choose the year. Then I ask for month and day.
So there is her birth date. Oops, it was not the 10th, it was the 14th. Okay.
So here's a question for you. I want to do it on my mutt that I picked up off the side of the road. I have no idea where they were born. No idea when. Does it mean I'm just out of luck?
Not really, because the piece of information that we are looking at is, well, the picture has a very big impression of the individual. So if you can get a picture of them, that's another thing. We're also looking at intention. So if we're sitting here with all of our energy and intention on the client and we're doing some scans, that's another big piece of this pie, is our intention is on this mutt. Right? We got the mutt right there with us, obviously, and we take a picture of them, and that's a pretty good indicator right there. And we use that. So
here's a question for you along that lines. If I'm doing this for somebody I don't really know very well over Zoom, would it be accurate to say that in that situation, I need as much accurate information as possible, versus if I was doing it for one of my kids, could I take their picture and their first name and just go from there?
Yeah, that's a super great question, because remember, we're working with information, we're working with the energy fields. And so what's relative to those, to that, it's the attention. Where we place our awareness is where we place our energy. So our attention on an entity is going to also help direct Healy. So like the butterfly effect, you've heard of the butterfly's wings flapping in one region of the planet, influencing weather patterns on another side of the planet. That's just a small influence. All we're doing is guiding the understanding and the attention of what Healy's looking at. And so if we have just somebody on a Zoom and our attention is on them, and we're just saying, Healy's with you, it's not about me. I'm out of the equation. It's about you. It's about the client. And it's hauntingly accurate because it's still attached to their energy signal, not mine.
Yeah.
So the next phase of this. So again, if you're putting a person's picture, say they've sent it to you remotely, whatever, you got their picture, you've got some information about them. Now inside here, we've got a 𝗙𝗧𝗪 mirror is a way of getting to like 0 point energy, right? Getting to that scalar wave energy point. Now we're beyond the speed of light. Now we're in this place of information. And there's two of them in here. It's kind of a comparator circuit. If we want to build a digital circuit in electronics, all we need is two like entities, and we can compare the two. We can create digital, what we call logic circuits. And that's what's happening here. We have a logic circuit. One, looking at this data we're putting in the client's fields. Here's Charlie, here's the name, here's a picture, all that kind of stuff. So we can have one 𝗙𝗧𝗪 mirror looking at that. The other one looking at the information field and finding an entity of where we're placing our awareness. We're guiding it. We're the butterfly wings guiding this pattern to this entity. And now we have two of those looking at the same client, and we're looking now between the two, we can compare. This is where we're going. Where we're going is we're going to look at the two entities, and we're going to find out the best version of the entity and the current version of the entity, and find out that translation we talked about earlier, the bridge. Okay. Yeah. So that's where we're headed here. So now I've got, oops, my phone just went offline. Did you do that, or was that me?
No, I didn't do that. So I'll kind of restate that a bit in my more slightly simplistic understanding. So I like to describe it this way, is like maybe the client is over here and a bunch of different programs and frequencies sit on the Healy here. And then the middle is the 𝗙𝗧𝗪 mirror. And the device sends some frequencies over at me, and I respond, and the 𝗙𝗧𝗪 mirror sits in the middle and goes, how good a match is that? Is that a decent explanation of that?
Yeah, it's the bridge, right? Is building this analysis, and that's what we're doing. We're analyzing one state or one form, and then the other form of the best form, where we're looking at those two, and then we're creating a bridge. What's the bridge? It's the frequencies. This is the bridge to align and bring into balance.
Or how well do you resonate with it?
That's it. That whole resonance piece.
The name of the device, resonance.
Yep. That whole resonance piece is very important. Okay. So somehow I am not sharing my device, but I'm going to, oh, I see. Let's see.
There you go. You're back. By the way, mine is stuck again at 3%. And here's what I would say. On occasion, sometimes when I've tried to do this, like got rid of the app, put it back on occasion when there's been problems syncing, like a known issue, and kind of right out there right now, I've had a decent amount of people going, my thing won't sync. Sometimes it's taken like actually a couple days to do it.
Yeah.
And I just had to come back like, okay, not going to stress about it. Try it again tomorrow, right? Oh, like, tomorrow it worked, easy, right? So don't freak out too much about it that something is fundamentally wrong if it's not working. It's like, just come back some other time, try it again. No worries. So
it'll work. It's a matter of patience. And again, what I say earlier, where we place our attention is where we place our energy. And we forget the amount of energy that we can emit with anger or frustration or whatever, and how it can interfere with signals. So I got Charlie back on, and there is a spot there that says record vibration. There's another piece that we want to add to this file, this client's file. It's called the vibration. And this is essentially getting a energetic reading from the Healy of the client, of the individual. So I'm going to click on the plus button. And what it's asking us to do is to hold the Healy in our hand. Oh, you're muted there, Stephen. Did you do that?
I was yelling at my wife to come get the dog who she tossed in here.
Oh, okay.
Who's having miniature seizures on the bed.
Hey, this is real time, folks. We're doing this in real life. So this is how you run your Healy.
Does your Australian Shepherd do that? Like have bath seizures?
Like, no, he loves people. So if somebody comes in, he's like having a people seizure. Like,
yeah,
come
people
here.
Seizure. Yeah.
So here we are. We've got the Healy in our hand. Now I'm working with a client. I'm working with my border collie. Okay. So my border collie is laying right here. I can just clip this onto her collar. I can lay it next to her where she's laying, and I can take this reading. So again, my attention is on the client, not me. I don't have to have it in my hand. I can just even have it sitting on the table and have all my attention on her, on the client, or even if somebody's on the Zoom, what am I doing? I'm putting my attention. So I'm out of the equation. It's just about you. And then I'm going to record that vibration. Ready? The bottom of the screen, you see the record vibration, the plus button.
Yeah.
All right. She's all ready. She's all relaxed and ready to give us that recording. And I press the plus. Here we go. Oh, I have to reconnect to my device. This is all real time. So it says, hey, wait a minute. I don't have a Healy interface here. What's going on?
When I do this for a client over Zoom, I will actually hold it in my right hand and then make actually the statement. Like, I'm now recording Ken's vibration while I look at you and push the button,
Exactly. Yeah. I'll even just, have it same way. Just here's my intention. It's with you, not me.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now you see a little bit different view on your screen there where it says record vibration, and there's some waveform there. All right. That's the actual vibration signature of the client. It's now there, present in the client's record.
I've heard this called a universal address. Would that be
I like
accurate?
that? Yeah. No. I mean, it's literally, it is a waveform signature from the information field. So yeah. It's when he says universal, it's not like it's not all one thing fits all. We're talking about the universe.
Yeah.
A signature from the universe. So awesome. At the top of the screen, next to add client, there's a little check mark. Now here's another thing that trips somebody up. If you don't click that check mark, all of this is not recorded. It's not saved to the app. So we want to click that check mark. Now watch, you're going to see something. It's going to say that the client has been saved. This is important. It says, so should this client be synchronized with the cloud? Yes. Now, if the client says no, then okay, fine. But if I ever lose my app, I have to reset my app or get rid of my app. The client is not anywhere but in the app at this point. If I click on yes, now the client's been saved to the cloud. It's a cloud, 4096-bit encrypted. Is not me. It's not mine. It's safe. And now, do we want to do a analysis? And the answer would be yes.
And by the way, this looks exactly the same doing it on an Android.
Yeah, the app is the same. You want to recap?
Sure. Blue Dot app, find it in the store. Okay. Search under the Play Store, under the App Store, 𝗙𝗨𝗘𝗏. You'll see the little gray app with a small blue dot. Download it. Make sure your device is on with the blinking lights. Okay. It's going to ask you to log in. Be sure you have the correct email address and password. You can double check that by going to the website and confirming that. Click where you want those 3 sliders to go. Don't try and slide them over. Click them. Let it sync. Actually, initially, you'll need to save your master key. My suggestion is email it to yourself or to somebody else. Okay. Then you'll need to sync it. Sometimes that can take a while. Be sure you have an excellent internet connection when you do that. If you're in the country, go somewhere else and do it. Sometimes it takes a while. Okay. It's also helpful if your phone, isn't getting a lot of, say, phone calls or different things like that. You don't want to interrupt the app while it's trying to do that. So, yeah. And then here we are. Then enter yourself some clients in there with a picture with as enough accurate information as possible. If they're in your presence, have them hold the 𝗙𝗨𝗘 when you hit record vibration. If they're not, have a clear intention that you're doing it for them. In other words, you're focusing your attention on them. When I hold that and I push that button, I'm looking at Ken through Zoom, boom. And once it's recorded, be sure and click save, okay? Or else it won't be saved. And now you're good to go. You now have their universal address. You do not need to perform it again to do all the scans we're about to do. It's all, you're in there, you're good to go. So
exactly. And remember, when you're placing your attention on someone, it doesn't mean that in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, what am I going to do for dinner? Or, man, that email really upset me. You're not present if that's what's happening. This is important, everyone, to understand that we're not working in an arena that you may be used to with your coworkers or with your classmates or wherever you're at. We're working in an arena that is that's above all of the chaos and disorder. Get outside of all that. Very important.
Focus. So this is not like a blood sugar monitor, a blood pressure cuff that will work whether you believe it or not. All right. No. This is one reason my daughter will take people as clients to do remote sessions for people, and she's very good because she's so focused. Right, when she pushes that scan button, she's like, whew, you can tell she knows exactly what we're doing. Right, she gets amazing results with people. Freaks people out. She's like, email it to him. The scan will say, "Oh, your husband's just feeling homeless." And the customer's like, "Oh my God, he told someone yesterday that he was feeling homeless," literally, in the literal word, and it will homeless. Yeah, freak people out.
Amazing. So, I love that. So we have, remember, we transferred from pulling in the client, creating the client. Now, the data that's for that client, the piece of information that are significant, if you had to choose, because you can put their email address and their address, their phone number, all that stuff is under that client. If we had to choose the things that were most significant, number one, I think, is picture. Number one is the picture. Number two is the name, right? Number three is, when did you come to this life? What's your birthday? Number four, cosmically, where did you come to this life? Where were you born? And then, of course, number five is gender. So those pieces of information, the rest, you know, and then in that order, if you know, in that order, gender might be right in there, perhaps around the name importance, but really, and when I say name, remember, this is how the world sees you. If your name on their birth certificate says Richard and everybody knows you as Rick, then put Rick, right?
Yeah.
My birth certificate says Kenneth, but everybody knows me as Ken. So that's it. If everybody knows you as you know, George, whatever they know you as, everybody's introduced you, how they see you. And there's another spot that I didn't address, which is title. There was another spot that says title. You don't have to put that in there, but it's a fun place. If you are represented in your world as a teacher, as a guru, as a pink unicorn, you know, however you feel that your life is identified, that's another spot to put in there.
If you notice on my personal file on mine, I put Stephen Keller, the emotion reset coach, because that's I'm known as that guy, right?
Yeah. That's very important. So that's it. Represent yourself or the client the way that the client is represented in their world. All right. So I like to do a sequence of the aura analysis first, right? I like to see the fields around the body. So let's click on aura analysis. You see that Charlie's still sitting there in the background, pulled in as a client. If I didn't have anybody picked, I would have my list of clients. I could choose one and bring them in, and now we could do this. All right. So the first step is to
it's good to do it on the dog, because sometimes the information is a little personal. I want to be spreading people's business all over the world, right?
This is why I chose the dog. I mean,
I've had the dog. No one needs to know what's going on, right? Yeah.
Already had a heck of a week. We don't want to know what's going on. All right. So we're going to record the aura. So I click on that. See, if it's not real-time connected to the 𝗙𝗧𝗘𝗏, it's going to require that established connection. And so it's now looking for it again. There it is. So let's go ahead and connect. Bluetooth comes on, says I'm connected. And now here we go. This is just about Charlie and picking up the signal. She's right here.
So now when you hit that, did you need to hold a certain intention right before that?
Again, if I'm doing this, the 𝗙𝗧𝗘𝗏 is just with her, right by her. It's already picked the client. It's already, you know, looking for the fields of that client. So I'm out of the equation. And again, this is an automatic function within me. If I hit that scan function, I'm out of the way, thinking about the client automatically.
Got it. Right.
So yes, it's necessary to get out of the way and make sure that this is about the client, not about you. And here's what happens. Here's what comes up. This comes up with this cool picture. The reason I put the nose of the individual client in the middle of the picture, because this is why. You see what's right in the middle?
Yeah.
Is the person's, the client right in the middle. We have some information here across the top. We have that back arrow on the far left. I can go back to the scan function and redo. I have a cloud with a little down arrow. What's that mean? Well, that means that I can actually create a PDF of this scan right here and send it to the client. There is a 3 little bar looking thing on the right. I can actually look at the bar graph representation of the energy centers. At the bottom, I have an interpretation function there. I can click on that. I can slide that over and take a look. Here's a very elaborate, intense interpretation of the chakras that are, in this case, it's going to show the lowest and the highest. So there's one that was the crown, found out that, and then a lot of very cool information. We could read through all that, right? Mm-hmm. We can even get more data. You see that pink bar? I can even go further into the details of chakras. There's a lot of information to understand about our energy centers or chakras.
So here we'll give you kind of a description of it and maybe some suggestions. Hey, here's an affirmation you could do. Here's some things you could do to shift it, right?
Yep. Okay, at the top, before we go to the analyze part, at the top of the screen there, that little drop down arrow around the cloud, I click on that. It generates a PDF report of this particular client's scan, and there's a little kind of a arrow at the bottom of the screen. You can see it's very faded down there.
Yeah, I can see
flashing. I can click on that arrow and I can move down through this report and get very cool details about this client. Look at that, pages of information, right? So let's go back up to one part that I want to show you. See that bar graph?
Yeah.
So the bar graph right there, notice on that interpretation that I pulled up, it showed the lowest, which was the crown at 58%, and then an intermediate one of 67%, and then the highest, which was the root. It gave us some perspective in information about what, pulls one down, what brings one up. This is a bar graph representation of the 7 chakras or energy centers of the body, starting from the root, which is down in the lower area, all the way up to the crown, which is way up at the top of the head. And another significant piece of information here, notice the colors. The auric fields, or the energy centers of the body, are oriented in the layers of color frequency. The slowest frequency of color is infrared. The highest frequency of color is ultraviolet, like a rainbow, right? You're going to see it in a rainbow. So the lower energy centers, or our root chakra, is going to be closer to that low frequency of light. And then the crown is going to be the higher frequency of light.
So here's a question for you. I get a lot of clients or people interested in healing who also come from kind of a more conservative Christian background. And they just freak out a little bit occasionally about the chakra. They think it's some intrinsically related to some maybe religious doctrine, which they don't necessarily want to buy into. I kind of tell them, this is just science. That just happens to be where it was discovered. What would you say? I mean, are there, scientific tools that pick up these different energy centers? I mean, what would you say to that?
Yeah, there is measurable frequencies that we can actually measure the body. We can measure this, and the body does represent these frequencies of or frequencies. We'll just call them frequencies. And what spectrum are they in? Light. They're in the frequencies of light. Our entire body operates on a communication systems of light. That's how it works. Right? Remember what I said earlier? You get into a board meeting with 6 or 8 people and nobody's going to agree. We have 100 trillion cells in unison communicating how? Through light. It's a very interesting system in which we can measure this. We have equipment now that we don't need to put probes on the body, but we can measure around the body. And there is auric photography where we can look at this stuff. And when we're looking at the survival centers, there's certain organs that are associated with these different energy centers of our body, or AKA chakras. And they are associated for very specific reasons. Survival center and the root are our sexual organs, the reproductive system of our body. That's the survival of the species, right? That's the root chakras. We've got glands and systems down in those areas. We've got the sacral system. We've got the solar plexus. We have the heart. Every one of these different areas have different glandular systems or organs associated for very specific reasons and what they do. What's the heart chakra? The heart chakra, of course, the heart. Oh my gosh. The heart and the brain are a couple of the 2 most intense energy sources in our body. But the brain is electrical, right? And the heart is magnetic. So this is how we literally transmit a signal from the body, just like a radio station. Electromagnetic signals are done through a combination of an intention or a thought and a feeling or an emotion or a magnetic signature sent out as a broadcast signal into the field. And this is how we manifest things. This is how we bring real our self. Right?
Yeah, love it.
So, well, cool stuff.
I find it super accurate, and in fact, as someone who is an energy healing practitioner who deals with people from more of a Christian perspective, I find it very helpful in dealing with clients. You know, like if someone's root chakra is really low, I'm like, oh, basically you could have a good job and money in the bank and you're still worried about being homeless, aren't you? They're like, yes. I'm like, there you go. Right.
Yeah. Those first three centers, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, those are survival centers, right? The root being the survival mechanism of life. Solar plexus is our interaction with environment, our sacral being more in the digestive and more of the, how would you call it? What would you call it? Not the will of life, but the environment of life. And then this solar plexus, that's where our willpower tends to live, right? Yeah. And so those are all survival stuff, necessary. Nothing wrong with those, sure, right? But they can be unhealthy, right? They can be out of whack because of, like you mentioned, feeling homeless.
Yeah, exactly.
At the top of the screen up there, you see that connect the dots icon at the far right. I can click on that.
It looks like this.
It looks like
that's the share button.
That's this. Yep, the little share. We click on that and look at what I can do with this. I can email this report. I can pull a PDF in, and I can email this report to the client. Now Charlie doesn't have an email address, so I'm going to send it to myself. But what I do is I name this. I call this the auric scan generic, all right? Because it's well, I'll call it general. And I send that off. There it goes. Off it goes. Now I can go back and refer to that. The client can go back and refer to that. Charlie doesn't read, so I read it to him.
It's excellent because if you're working with a client, then you have to spend tons of time going over it. You can go, hey, a little bit, I'll send it to you, check it out. Like my daughter sent it to this woman, had my daughter do a scan for her husband, and it said, feeling homeless. And that we'll get to the little more detailed description in a bit, but that's exactly, she's like, oh my God, that's totally accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we click on the X on the far left, takes us back to here. And now we can do an actual analysis, right? So we take the information, we click on the analysis button, and remember that bar graph you saw in the report before? Here it is again. And now we can pick and choose now the other report showed us the lowest and then the intermediate. Well, actually it showed us the lowest two and then the highest one. So it showed us the crown, the sacral, and the root. That was in that other report, just to give us some contrast. Okay. Here, now we're looking at the three lowest, because now we're looking at assistance or alignment. And what do we want to align? Well, the root looks like it's pretty darn good. 99%. That's really good. And I want you to understand the distinction about these percentages. This is percentage of energy. If 0 is no energy and 100% is great energy, it's just a representation of the energy in that center. And the system automatically picks the lowest three, because these are the ones we want to bring up. We don't want to worry about the highest ones. Now I can manually change that. I can actually click at the bottom of the screen, those dots that are not picked. I can click, those are unclick ones that are clicked. But I like to leave the system alone, let it be the objective observer and do its work. That's why I leave those alone and let it do that. This now we can.
Is there an average number? I see on the left, it's a total.
Yeah, that total, I can't give you a good description of what that's saying, because it doesn't really represent an average. It might, and I would need to get more clarity on that. But I've watched that number change relative to the other bar graph representations, and like if we took an average, is that really average?
Does not seem average, no.
If you did the math there, I don't know, do the math real quick, you can see it. No, but what it does state is, I think it does represent an average within that person, perhaps. Okay. You know,
I'll give you an interesting story about this. I've got one of my downline. She's a medical doctor, and she didn't have a resonance yet. She just had a normal one. and her husband's having some pretty serious issues. She's like, can you do some work on him? I'm like, I don't have time. Pay my daughter to do it. So she sent my daughter his picture, all his information. My daughter scanned him in and did an aura analysis. She walked into my room like she'd seen a ghost. She goes, Daddy, what is wrong with this guy? What she didn't know is this guy had a very rare form of celiac that caused inflammation on the brain. And he had almost no EEG at the moment when my daughter ran that scan for him. And she's like, is this guy alive? I'm like, well, barely, right? Barely. How fascinating to pick that up. I'll give you another interesting example of this. You know, I do a decent amount of work on myself. And a couple of weeks back, I was in the habit of, oh, I need to relax. I'm going to choose a TV program to watch. Well, the 2 TV programs I watch, which I like, some violence and everything, but are pretty dark. And I noticed after watching a fair amount of those, and I ran an aura analysis myself, I'm like, oh, Lordy. Like yeah, I'm gonna have to walk away from those TV programs because they're bringing me down. You know what I mean? Great feedback on that. Like, I can't operate up here and participate in that consistently. That is not going to cut it. So
we think that those TV programs, like working with, think of our kids, we think that doesn't really have an effect, but that's a great representation right there of what we see has a huge effect on our body. So great analogy. And then again, you were doing that not in real time, right? You were doing that as a remote for this person that was showing up nearly.
Correct. Yeah, she did. She was remote. Yeah, not in person.
Yeah. I just did the math real quick on those numbers just to see what that would represent. And then actually, if you do the math on the average of those numbers that you see, it's not 70, it's 82% as mathematically. So it's not representing a mathematical equation of the average on the far right over there, that total. It's from what my experience in real-time experience is actually that's a representation of the overall entity of the client. So the condition of the client. So I've seen high numbers and yet a low total in the past. And because the individual was in, you know, at the moment in dire straits. So important. All right. Interpretations. We can go and click on interpretations. It's going to go back and show us all that stuff that we looked at before based on these particular 3. We can go and look at that. You can see that again. There's that interpretation again. All right. And you saw those 3 that were checked. Then we can go and look at the interpretations of those 3. All right, let's go and start the analysis. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. Let's start the analysis. So
we're doing a deeper dive on those 3.
Deeper dive on those 3. Here we go. Now, watch this. There's the 3 it pulled into the analysis engine. This is the analysis engine. Now, we moved things from the readings to the analysis engine. And what this is going to give us is now it's going to give us a percentage of relevance. So we're putting it now, look at things in terms of relevance for the work that we're going to do. Now, remember the last percentages showed us the percentage of those energy centers, their levels, that's how high they are on their condition. Now we're going to look at how relevant is the work to be done on those. It's kind of an interesting analogy. We'll go over this a little bit more. At the bottom of the screen there, you see an include high negative relevancies and a little slide bar we can tap. And that's going to give us what we're looking at here in the analysis, the top 3, those are kind of in the physical form of the body. Okay. The other ones down there, when we look at high negative relevancies, that's kind of in the non-physical realm. And we can look at those. So I'm going to go ahead and start the analysis. Charlie's ready, calm and cool, of course, sleeping.
Right.
And let's take a look. Here we go.
Now, I usually don't include high negative relevancies. Do you usually include it yourself?
That's up to the client, but since she's just relaxed and chilled, I'm just said, let's take a look at them anyway. The negative relevancies, again, that is, and we're going to go over some things you just got, what we're seeing here, to understand how how they relate to what we should be doing. Okay. So here's the sacral chakra, second center. And there's the Ayurvedic name, what color is typically represented in this part of the body. And then the present state. Look at the present state is green. The healthy state is orange. And then the description there gives us the dissonance. What's maybe blocking that area from being its proper expression of color. In this particular case, the emotions of the body are being confused with love. Okay, so things going on with her.
And so here's where sometimes you get some real personal information for people. Like, for example, you need to work on the issues with your strong-willed, manipulative mother, I said to one of my clients. And she's like, oh, wow. She goes, I just talked to my mom and she wanted me to do something and I didn't want to do it. I know if I didn't do it, she would give me the "you're a bad daughter" vibe, and our coddler under tends to do that to me. And she still did it to me. And then we were in the scan. She's like, oh, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So for my sisters, I'll tell you something funny. For my sister's dog, she run this scan on both of her dogs, her Labradoodle and her Golden Retriever. Kind of the Golden Retriever, very loose interpretation is, I take no responsibility for any of my actions. The Labradoodle was like, may I please? May I please? Is it okay? May I? Totally accurate for those two dogs. The Golden Retriever is like, I do whatever I want to. The other dog is like, can I? Am I allowed to? Is it all right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, hilarious.
The top bar there in that gray bar where we see 93% a line, there's an 8, a line, and then some other numbers, and then a dash and some more information. Okay, so what we're looking at there is now, remember I said we're bringing all this over into the relevance engine, and now we're looking at the percentage in terms of relevancy. How relevant is the work to be done in this sacral center in our lives? Well, it says it's 93% relevant. It means it's pretty relevant. It's pretty important that we work on the conditions, issues, whatever's going on that is creating this dissonance, the green instead of orange. And the next number.
So that number is not how high on the previous page it was. That's something different. This is like, no matter how high it was, how important it is actually to do it.
Exactly. If you would have noticed, remember on the bar graph, the sacral chakra percentage was 57%. That was how strong that center was representing in its form, right?
So in some ways, on the previous thing, it said this area needs help, and that number goes, yeah, this is really important.
Yeah, it's telling us, the other one is telling us the current representation of the center.
Yeah.
And if it's low, it may have a very high relevancy in terms of paying attention and fixing what's going on there. Well, that's going to be the case. If we have a 0% energy in the root center, oops, look out. That we're not very solid in our base for our life. I mean, it's a pretty weak energy signal, meaning that most anything that has to do with survival in the person's feeling is dead.
Yeah.
And there's some work to be done there.
Like the scary low numbers of that guy my daughter scanned.
Exactly. And so what you see here, so that particular Charlie's sacral center was at 57%, which was its lowest. That was the lowest one on the bar graph. And it's showing that the conditions that are causing that to be low have a 93% relevancy to pay attention and fix in the life of the person. So it's very relevant, very important to pay attention. And the next number, the number 8, means the intensity. How much intensity does that have in affecting our life, the actual life form of the person, on a scale of 1 to 10? So it's really common to have a very high relevancy percentage and a high intensity in one's life. In other words, the dissonance that green is having, the color reception of green in that center, the level of influence it's having on the life is very high. and to pay attention to that is necessary right now. So the intensity of it, it has a high level of influence on her life, literally high level of influence. And then next to that, go ahead.
One, I want to make a comment on this that's important, is that before we got on here, I've heard somebody talk about this. If you had asked me beforehand, like what those numbers mean, Steve, I'd be like, I have no friggin' idea whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I get great results with it, right?
You don't need to know all that.
More simpler. I like run it. I'm like, cool. I'll read a few of the things. Excellent. Makes sense. Get a little bit of insight. Hit the vibrate. Boom. Right. Yep. So you can do a very simple, or you can dive super deep.
Yeah.
Right. I remember my sister calling me on the phone. She had had her resonance. I didn't have mine. She goes, do you know I can do a scan for you remotely? I'm like, yeah. She goes, send me a picture. Now, my sister's not tech adept at all. She figured out how to do it in her car between stoplights.
I love it.
Sent it to me. Super accurate.
Yeah.
There you go. So we provide this deep dive because some of you really want to know.
Yeah. And you don't have to. I mean,
you don't have to. No,
you don't have to have an engineering brain, or you don't have to have a energy healing brain. You don't have to have any of that. You can just use it. Just push the start.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the cool thing about this. It takes the practitioner out of the equation. Just gives us data. You can just read through all this stuff, or you can just go, I'm just going to do the actions and do the vibrate.
And you could put the actions and send the whole more in depth to your dog's email so she can read it later.
Right? That's right. That's right. So to unpack the last piece of on the other side of that bar, the LMXXX. So C, D, and LM are homeopathic representations of dilution.
Okay.
Why are we talking about dilution here? Well, these are how far removed or how far diluted this is into one's life. I mean, it could be pretty significant into the person's being by it being less diluted. In other words, when we take a dilution of something, you take a liter of water and put 1 drop of food coloring in it, it makes very little change, but it's just a 1 level of dilution. Then if we take 1 drop out of that 1 liter bottle and put it into another liter, that's even further diluted. And then so on and so on. Pretty soon you'll probably never be able to detect any part of the color, but the essence of the color is still within the water because the water holds all information. So this is kind of where we're at. We're looking at dilution. This is the 3rd level of dilution into her life. So it's diluted into the being of the person pretty lightly, but it's still an influence, right? So, one can get deep into that, but I'm not going to really get deep into that. Let's take a look at what we're seeing here. Present state, green. Present state description. Here's a description. Desired state. We want that complete and gentle healing of these conditions, right? And then at the bottom, maybe a desired statement of the like a affirmation. The themes of the sacral chakra are perceived as harmonious. We can keep going down. So here's the next one on the list. Now take a look here. Wait a minute. There's sacral chakra, crown chakra. Sometimes you're going to see these repeat themselves because why? Well, we can have multiple variations of color or frequencies of light within the same center, and they will represent different meanings and different necessities for alignment. So this is all great information.
So here's a question for you. So I'm looking at this. I'm thinking about your dog. If you go back to the crown chakra, so it's like your dog very much. So the crown chakra was fairly low, and this has a 87%, but the number is 2. Explain again why the percentage is high, but the number is low. It would almost seem like your dog really, it doesn't have your attention currently, really needs it, but it's not really a chronic thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
would that be an accurate way to say that?
Yeah. The relevancy engine shows an 87% relevancy of the condition we're seeing here in the life, but the intensity is low. It's not too intense in the person's influence. It's only a 2. So it's got a low intensity in the influence of the life. All right.
Yeah.
So it's relevant.
So it's not like you never pay attention to her, just not right now.
Exactly. She's sleeping, and I'm doing this with you. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so then we get to the next one, the heart chakra. Now I want to show you something here. Look, sacral shows back up. Wait a minute. We had it up above, and what was the present state was green up above. Now we're showing yellow green. Well, again, that frequency of light compared to orange shows a different degree of separation and a different label of dissonance. Right? So here's a different condition, same energy center, but a different condition. And so still necessary. Look at how high the impact is. The 8 still high. Why? Well, because what's going on with the sacral center has a very high intensity influence on the life of the individual or the client. Yeah. I want to get down again.
Now, when I look at that for your dog, and again, I'm just as a dog person, I'm thinking something. It's like never had puppies or not enough things to take care of in her life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and 100%, because she has never had a litter of puppies. And not only
nothing
that,
to treat or care for as much as she might need.
Yeah. She's a border collie, a herding dog. She likes to have jobs to do and businesses to take care of, right? So what does she do? She herds the cats.
Yeah. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Have you ever heard that statement? It's like herding cats.
Yeah.
So
not so good. All right.
So she doesn't feel very, very task oriented right now.
Yeah.
So there's the heart shows up again. Now, what I want to remember, we chose including all negative relevancies. I want to get down to the point where you start seeing some negative numbers. Now, this is not that it's super not relevant, but in the negative realm of relevancies, now we're getting into the non-physical side. And there's some things that are on the non-physical side that are of the spiritual influence, but they're not physical. So still we're looking at.
So again, explain to me when it says negative relevancies, explain that again.
So
still
if we're separating these two in terms of body or spirit, let's go there. So the body is in everything that's the positives up on top.
Okay.
And the spiritual is everything negatives. So that the higher the negative number, the further back in the background it is, right? It's further below 0, right? So it's further in the background. And so you'll see as the negative numbers get smaller. So it starts with the smallest, negative 84%, and goes to the highest. See that?
Mm-hmm.
87. So the higher the negative number, the further in the background it lives. You follow me? So,
and when you say in the background, what do we really mean by that?
We're meaning that emotional or psychological or past life or spiritual influences.
When you were 4, you thought your dad didn't like you.
Yeah.
Technically, it's way back there. It doesn't mean it doesn't impact you a lot at the moment.
100%.
It's still
there.
Makes sense.
And if you take a look at the next number on a scale of 1 to 10, that number 8, meaning its intensity in your life is still pretty high, right? Even though
so that 4-year-old wounded inner child is still majorly jacking with your life today.
Exactly.
Okay. I get it.
You see how that works?
Yeah.
So this is a really cool indicator to, people are saying, I got over that thing. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
You think you did, it's still running you. Okay. So that one was 6. What's the one on the very bottom? Does it go down? Okay, the crown chakra. Fear of authorities is based on the fear of being hurt. Interesting.
Yeah. And again, even though it's
how long have you had her?
All of her life. I rescued her from a litter of 12 And she came and actually ran and hid under me, say, please take me home. So I did.
Interesting. So, you almost look at that. That's almost like a, while in the litter, I mean, as far back as it is. And she's like, get me out of here.
Yeah, she was the runt. She was
that seems very accurate for your initial interaction with her. So
yeah.
super interesting.
Isn't it? I love this.
Yeah.
So at the bottom down there, we have two tabs. We have an actions tab and a vibrate tab. So what can we do with that? We can actually, all of this stuff that you just saw in this report, I can now, under actions tab, I can create a PDF and I can email this to her, right? And for review. And this is great, super good information, super powerful for the individual to go over, and another great reason for us to check back in with our client, right? And see how they're doing, see what's going on. You know, does it make sense? Do you have questions? Give them time to digest this a little bit. This is a pretty big report. It's sitting there taking a little while to process, kind of making me suspect that I'm still connected. There it goes. All right. So again, at the top of the screen, we have that little menu item there that I can email this. I'm going to email this to myself and I'll read it to her later when she's ready for bed. And the subject, I named this one Auric scan specific. This is very specific, a lot of detail. So I do this so that we can differentiate when we come back to talk about it again later.
By the way, mine is done finally. Now, the real interesting thing on my sync was that it finished and then it went back to the page acting like it needed to be done again. And I closed the app. And then when I went back into it, it's like, oh no, we're good.
Yeah, it was already done, wasn't it?
It was already done, even though it went back to the page where there was a bar as if it needed to do it again.
Yeah.
But it just told me it had finished. Yeah. So.
It's very interesting on that. And we don't give up. We just keep on like you did. You just kept, what'd you do?
It was like about 60 minutes to do that.
Yeah. So the last thing of all this information we just collected, all this data we just collected, we can simply create a packet of frequencies to send into the client's field to help alignment. And that's done on the vibrate page, on the vibrate stage right there. If you'll notice there, I have basically all of them are there. Everything that came up on our scan, all of the alignment protocols and necessities. And it's now going to be compiled into a packet of frequencies to work on that dissonance, that bridge. And at the bottom of the screen here, you see select transmission duration. I can click on that and I have options for how long I can send that. These are presets that represent very specific amounts of time for various entities. I don't know the differentiation about all of these numbers, but they represent minutes, seconds, and then at the top up here, there's fractions of a second. So how quick it can be updated. Remember, when we're changing and working with the information field, it's an instantaneous upgrade. The information field's already there. All we're doing is linking the dissonance between the client and that blueprint. And then it just, boom, it's an update, instant. It doesn't take any time. But the other thing that happens too is that the individual can have that update right now. And then in the very next second, hate life, right? And like, and go about their day being angry and discontent and all the pieces that brought them down in the first place. So the longer we run this, maybe the higher the influence in the field, and then that raining down on the individual can continue for longer periods of time. The default number is 1 minute and 20 seconds. We're not going to do that for that long. I'm going to run it for 8 seconds so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and hit the done key. And you see that it's locked that amount of transmission for 8 seconds and 444 thousandths of a second. And
so now is doing this vibration here, do you follow the vibrational protocol also here of for chronic versus acute issues?
Yeah. So again, chronic issues are going to be something that is long-term.
Yeah.
Acute is going to be something short-term. And so you can adjust these times based on that chart. There is a chart that gives you
I will include a link to that chart in the description of the video. Off the top of my head, I think for acute things, it recommends like 5 to 6 times at 37 seconds. And for chronic, maybe 2 to 3 times at 2 minutes 49. I will say this, if you know how to muscle test, the way I do it is I will first muscle test how many times to run it and then how long. That's what works best for me. But you don't have to know how to muscle test to do it. And if you do it for a slightly wrong time, it's not like you're going to break somebody, right? It's like, don't worry about it. So,
you know what I found is probably the worst case scenario that you're going to influence someone is for them to have a form of detox of some sort, getting actually rid of a condition that's been there a long time. And if it's something that's very intense, it could be an emotional thing for that individual, right? I mean, it could be an emotional thing for that day. They just feel tired. They feel, out of balance. They feel certain things going on. They don't know why. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the worst case scenario, you can actually have detox symptoms, which is like, oh, I feel a little achy or pain or whatever is going on. The key thing is to tell your client, to tell your person, is to hydrate, keep that self-care high, hydrate, move, ground yourself, certain things like that, to keep the self-care high. And we'll put together a little self-care protocol also for you guys to take a look at.
And again, just a perspective, if you've been sick for a long time and you're super frustrated and very eager to get better, don't hurry it though. Just ease into it. Don't do too much at once. Yeah, it'll work better if you're just a little more patient. So
yeah. So I'm going to run this vibration. Here it is, 8 seconds and 44 1,000s. Here we go. Take a look at the waveforms. You see a red and a blue waveform. So what's going on here is those two color waveforms. You noticed before when I did a scan on Charlie and it created that little blue waveform. Okay. It's looking at information to pull in. That's the intake of the information from the client into the app. The other one is from the app outward. The red one is the outward display or transmission of the frequencies to the client. So it's a two-way thing going on right there at the same time. That's the waveforms to understand that what's happening there. All right. So that's about it. Anything you want to add to the auric?
No, that was excellent. I actually learned quite a bit. I appreciate it.
Awesome. That was fun. I like that. And Charlie's very content right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Next phase is the resonance analysis. Now here's the fields of the body. Remember the aura was the fields around the body. This is the energy fields, the light fields around the body, still interacting with the centers of the body, the auric fields. But this one is the body. Now we're going to really talk about the body and really look at that. So clicking on that, again, we have our opportunity to pull in our client. You see our client right there. Charlie's right there. This one's going to give us an affirmation or a statement. This is a curiosity statement, I like to say. If you were to have tea with the best version of yourself, and it's sitting there just in its brilliance, and you were to say, I'm in my current condition, here's the amazing condition, with what would I have the greatest resonance now to get to you? What would it be? What would that, that's kind of, what would be the best thing to get to you? What do I need to release? What's going on? Now you can play with this statement. I play with this statement all the time. This is just a focus statement. This is just to get us focused on where we want Healy to look. All right.
Yeah.
So let's say that I want to say, man, what's the best relationship I could have in my life right now? What's the best version of that relation? I could put a different intention statement in there, but this is the one that's the default statement. With what do I have the greatest resonance now? And people have question that all the time. You ever get people going, what's that mean? Right? I do.
It is a little confusing, but this is where the more you practice with it is why people will say, oh, the more I use it, the better it works. Right?
Yeah.
For me, when I do this for people, I like to say, okay, for myself or for other people, typically I'll say, um, what do we connect you to living a wholehearted life?
Yeah.
Right? What do we do so you'll be brave and you'll go for it, and in your identity to be connected to unconditional love, and to let go of your own performance or how people treat you or how institutions honor you, that it has the power to tell you what you're worth, and then you can go for it.
There you go.
I heard, I don't forget who, one of the Healy corporate people say, he gave this description. He goes, if your knee is bad and you're trying to fix your knee, it's more like you ask, okay, well, why do you want your knee to be better? So I can dance. Well, why do you want to dance? So I can spend time with my spouse. Okay, well, that's where we're going.
That's it.
Because you don't really care if your knee hurts or not. You care that you can't have quality time as a result.
Yeah.
So the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the knee corrects itself because of that proper intention, the desire to get to that state.
Yeah.
Everything aligns itself to get there, and that was Michael Dance that talks about that.
Yeah.
So he's a great.
And here's I will say this thing as well. Sometimes you can watch videos online from different people at Healy, and it seems like they give different answers to different things. You're like, well, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's important for people as they do this. It's like people are desperate for only the 100% accurate, perfect way to do it. And it's like,
Is
just
there one
relax a bit
religion?
like that. Just relax a little bit and have fun. Okay. It's like,
Yeah. That's a great statement too. They're looking for the perfect answer, the telltale sign, but is there one kind of car? I mean,
there's more than one way to add up to 10.
That's it. Yeah. And so
here's one description of it is that, if I held a dollar bill up between us and you read to me exactly what you see and I read to you exactly what I see, we would give different descriptions, but of the same thing.
Yep. Two sides.
And if you're like, well, there can only be one description, it's like, well, not really.
No, you're right.
And there's more than one way to add up to 10.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And you're right. Corporate, even trainers are going to give you a little bit different spin because of their expertise and their perspective. So the device still works the same. So no matter how we interpret with what do I have the greatest resonance now, say the statement, be curious, and find out what comes up next. Then that's what's going to happen. You see, the next step is to continue with database selection. Well, what's that mean? Well, let's click on that. Boom. Remember earlier when we were loading all these databases and all these translations and such? Look at this. Here's the databases in which we can tune this analysis to, right? We can tune this analysis to this, and we have the various choices, Bach flower, and you see the little number that's in parentheses next to it, 39. That means there's 39 different Bach flower remedies in that database that we can just tune the analysis to Bach flowers. If we just want to use those homeopathic remedies, now we can find the frequencies within the Bach flower homeopathic remedies to do the alignments based on what this scan reveals right now. All right. And we have all the different ones, the amino acids, Australian bush flower, I Ching. And then we get to the Healy programs. Now, these are the microcurrent programs that are on the pink dot that we talked about in our last video. Now, here's where this analysis starts to get real with the microcurrent frequencies. Yeah. This is a fun part, right? Now we can create a recipe essentially to implement these very specific microcurrent frequencies into our bodies to start aligning the tissues, organs, cells, and systems. At the bottom of this list, we can just make it broadband and click on all Healy programs. Now it's going to pick in. Now remember, look at the little parentheses, the number on the parentheses, the gray letter at the side of each one of these databases. There's 12, 10, 7, up to 12 different programs per page. So like in the Bach flower remedies, we have 364 different homeopathic remedies at the top, 364 different homeopathic ones. Now in the Healy programs, we have over 120. And so we click on that all Healy programs at the bottom. Now what we've done, we've restricted the analysis to that database. Well, restricted is a wrong word because it's huge, but we've narrowed it down to the 𝗙𝗧 programs. All right. So we click on the start analysis. There's our client. There's our focus statement. Here's our category, all 𝗙𝗧 programs. And we click on start analysis. Wait a minute. Why isn't it starting? What's going on? There's a fingerprint on the screen. What's that mean? Are you going to take my fingerprint? Is this going to the FBI? What's going on here?
Yeah, like, people freak out about that.
Yeah. All this is this a representation? What if you see a fingerprint on the screen like that? It's like, okay, well, maybe that means put my finger there, right? And that's exactly what it means. It's not taking your fingerprint. It's just that this is a smart device with a touch screen. So it's saying put your finger here to activate the next step. Now, what's the significance of putting our finger there? Well, it's to try to get our attention, right? The whole point is to get
focus, buddy.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah. So focus and put your finger right there. Be present, be in the moment, and activate this scan. Don't be thinking about what's for dinner or if you're in traffic, any of that kind of stuff. Just do it. Here we go. So I'm gonna put my finger because Charlie's still right here, and my attention is on Charlie. So if you're doing this via Zoom, same principle. You're as the person operating the smart device and the program, you're going to place your finger on the screen to activate the next step, but your attention and your intention is going to be on the client, right? It's not me. It's about the client. Here we go. All Charlie. There we go. It's pretty quick. Doesn't take too long. And here's what it reveals. Now, again, we got another set of percentages. Remember, we've moved this over into the relevance engine. This is the relevancies of these remedies or these suggestions in Charlie's alignment life. Okay. So at the top of the screen, you see the name of the person, what the database criteria was that we chose, the statement, and the timestamp, date and timestamp of when it was done. It just created a list is what this just did. Now what it does is it picks the top 5 pages. Okay. So remember there were 120 different programs allocated over 16 different pages of 𝗙𝗧 microcurrent frequency programs. Now it picked the top 5. So first one it picked was the 𝗙𝗧 fitness programs. That's a page, several different programs on that page. Again, giving us a percentage of relevancy. It's the highest relevancy, 53%. If it's over, say, 25% relevant, it's probably something to pay attention to. I mean, even if it's low, it's still going to be something to pay attention to. Okay, so 53% relevant. These numbers, don't get stuck on these percentages. Just know that 53 is higher than 51.
Yeah.
50, and that's it. And that's why it's oriented this way. The next one is the 𝗙𝗧 mental balance, 51%. And there's a matching one equally necessary in the life of balance is the 𝗙𝗧 bioenergetic support, the sleep program, and then the learning program. Okay. So those 5, we can now drill this down a little bit more. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of frequencies, because if we do the math, we have 5 pages, up to 12 programs per page. That's 60. Each program has an allocation of up to 300 frequencies, but it runs maybe about 10. So there's 600 different frequencies possible if we just run all those into their field right now. That's pretty general, right?
Yeah.
But we can drill that down and be a lot more specific if we want. Under the Actions tab, we have the same functions as in the Auric Scan. We could send this PDF in an email form, or we can vibrate all of these frequencies into their field right now. We can do either one. I don't do that. I send the PDF to the client so that they can review this in a broad spectrum, and I call that the resonance scan generic or general, because it's got 5 whole pages there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do each page, but I'm going to show you what we can do quickly in drilling down. I'm getting all kinds of emails to show you what we can do in making a recipe, as I call it.
Now, again, to remind people, this all program scan we did not include the top 7 categories, only the programs that you can do microcurrents on.
Yeah. So remember when it says all Healy programs, it didn't say all homeopathic databases. It said all Healy programs. Those are the microcurrent programs that are on the pink dot. Now, we can send the same frequencies that the pink dot is delivering into the field of the client via the what we call the noise generator or the frequency transmitter. But we can also find out basically what microcurrent programs that we could send to the body and really affect or influence the cell structures in the body via the pink dot. Okay, so what we're doing here is all vibrational, all transmission into the field frequency wise, like the butterfly effect. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So hence the biggest question people ask you, Ken, what's more effective? Doing the microcurrents or doing the vibration, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's a tough question. My experience has been is it depends on you. Like one of my sisters doing the microcurrents is really just too powerful for her. She does actually both my sisters have gotten almost all their results from just doing vibrational programs out of the blue dot, not doing any pink dot. Me, I really enjoy when I do the pink dot microcurrent programs. I use them a lot, right? But that's me, right?
And also too, what about contraindicators such as people who have pacemakers or implants or things like that, when they can't
Common
use
question.
Yeah, they can't use the peak dot. They can't use the microcurrents. So here we have an option. We have a way of addressing those people too. So nobody's really left out, right? This is the key thing, is that nobody's really left out here. When it comes down to the science, the reason that we have the microcurrent protocols is because of the cellular influence. There's really a biological cellular influence. But again, if you're sensitive, why disregard those people that are sensitive or people who have implants and not give them the benefit of current, I should say frequency technology? And that's what we can do.
You know, Marcus did a great longer video on that, and my layman's explanation of it is kind of like this: is if you have the results here, doing vibrational programs are coming down from the more quantum field, versus the microcurrents are going from actual cellular microcurrent cell membrane voltage this way, right? And you're still getting the same place, but just a little different process.
Yeah, exactly. So you saw what I just did there. I clicked on vibrate so we can actually vibrate these into the field. And I just want to demonstrate that a little bit. I'll do it for another 8 seconds and 8 seconds, 44 thousandths. Anyway, I'm going to show you what looks like. Remember what I said? The blue and the pink or red waveform. This is, again, the same kind of thing. We're sending all that information. It's feedback from the app, transmit to the field to the app, and back and forth. So that's a two-way communication system. All right.
Now, I want to make a comment on this. And that when I initially started doing this, you know, I'm an energy healing practitioner. I work with people remotely all the time. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's cute. I'm sure most of the results will come from the actual microcurrent application. Now, more I use it, the more experience I have, the more crazy results people keep getting with this vibrational programs and therapies for people. It's like, there's some pretty crazy stories I'm starting to personally experience on how powerful that is. And my belief level keeps on going higher and higher the more I use it. You know, it's just really extraordinary what it will do for people. So.
Exactly. It's like, it's interesting how some people will say, I knew the moment you hit the start button, and they're not even next to me, right? I knew the moment you hit the start button on those frequencies, I could feel it. I could get this sensation. So now let's drill down one of those categories. Remember, we just got done. What did this scan just net us? So with Charlie, we got a net result of 5 full pages of programs, a lot of stuff. Now we can drill that down if we just want to make sure that we just want to get the most effective thing for Charlie, and we're going to do it on the microcurrent side of life. So we're going to pick the client again, and same statement with what do I have the greatest resonance now, but the database selection is going to be a little bit different now. Remember the first page that showed up for her was the fitness programs. It was 57% relevant, and it was on the fitness page. So what I can do is I can go and I can hone in just on that fitness page and choose and let the system choose the top 5 programs on that page, right? So now I can start drilling down this a little more refinement, right? Get a little more refinement. So here we go. We've chosen the fitness page. We click on the start. We get present with Charlie, and here we go. Okay. So now it's going to choose the top 5 on the fitness page as to what she probably could use, what she needs in this present moment. Circulation, weight, deep relaxation, muscle, and regeneration. And the definitions of those programs are, there is a document that is available, and we can put links to that document. It is a definition page for each one of the programs on all 20, on all 15 pages within the Healy system. So again, it shows us relevancy, the percentage of relevancy. Again, it's like, okay, we just need to know that 57 is higher than 49. All right. And it's going to sort it out for us just like that in the proper order. Again, we can send these to her field via the vibrate mode by clicking on the actions tab at the bottom. Right. We can also send them in a PDF form for the client to review, or we can just move on. Now, the significance of what we're doing here, you don't have to write all this stuff down. You don't have to memorize the order in which every single one of these was created, because we can go back to our client list. We can pick out our client. Whoops, where'd Charlie go? There she is. And we can go at the top of the screen up here, click on that little hamburger, and we can show lists. Now, here's everything we just did. There's the auric scan. We can go back and take a look at that and the results. There's the all Healy programs scan that will reveal the order that we came up with, right? Or we can pull the fitness program, and again, shows the order in which they were determined. Here's a little interesting thing. Maybe you've experienced this, Stephen. I've seen it many times working with clients. Is I do this with folks. I will literally kind of drill down each page, show the top 5 in each page, and then we'll start running those sequences. So we'll have the fitness page sequence on the first day. We'll see how they respond. We'll do the bioenergetic page the second day, whatever the second one was, right? And so on and so on. We can go back and take a look at the order. Here it is. I'll do the fitness page, the mental balance, the bioenergetic support, and so on and so on. Interestingly enough, sometimes I'll get down to the 3rd series, and all of a sudden I click on that and the order has changed within that series. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. The first scan revealed a certain order, the percentages and such. But here's what happens. As we start to change and align the client with these other, remember, the highest priority one was the fitness page. It's going to upregulate the ones below it. It's going to shift
the butterfly effect throughout everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So it would make sense that maybe some of these would change or alter as we get down to them. And it does. It's interesting how the lists, I go back to the lists, I look at them again, I'm like, that's not what it said before.
Yeah.
The
A lot of people
orders
go, wait, it changed. Something's broken. You know?
No kidding. That's what happens. The first inclination is to say that the system is broken, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's not true. So that makes sense. This is how you get to it. You can also, so if you go to the particular client lists, you pick your client, top right of the screen, the hamburger, you can choose the lists. The other way to do that, you see that other indication there, it says clients and then lists below that.
Yeah.
You can go there, but every list for every client is there.
Search for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much easier the other way.
Yeah. So that's kind of the cool parts of the resonance system.
Couple of things I'll add is, you know, under the clients, I've added my marriage in as a group.
Oh yeah, great point.
Oh, found that very helpful.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Occasionally when I run the marriage, I can notice by the scan whether I'm the, shall we say, rate limiting factor into my marriage improving. If we're not, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, that part's definitely me, you know? So that can be very helpful. I've done I was staying at my friend's house and this incredible 400-year-old massive oak tree, and I ran a scan on the tree. That was really interesting. But individuals, people, very helpful.
Remember what we can have for our clients. You know, look at that. We have all those entities. I have my house as a client. I have my bedroom as a client. I mean, not a bad
very
thing.
Helpful.
You know,
there you go.
So yeah, you can align all kinds of things in the system. So definitely helpful. Well, what do you think? Anything else in closing?
Let's, if you go back to the resonance, and I want to briefly talk about the top 7 categories and the potential and what this can do. I won't spend a ton of time with it. A lot of helpful stuff up there. For example, with the Bach flower remedies, it will not only tell you what Bach flower remedy, it will also tell you, for example, the corresponding essential oil. Super helpful. How many people you know who have mountains of different essential oils, and so you got a freaking encyclopedic knowledge or an actual encyclopedia to figure out what it is. And so it helps you, right? Sometimes what you'll find is you'll find a common theme, maybe through different aspects. Maybe you'll find it tells you to use your lung meridian and you run the materia medica, the homeopathics, and I'll mention lung in there as well. And so sometimes you're like, whoa, I got a consistent theme here. Maybe I really need to focus on this, right? So again, with all those, you can run the vibrational program from it, from the materia medica, sometimes giving you insight on physically what might be going on because of what homeopathic you need. The amino acids are not just amino acids, very helpful. It's overall nutrition scan, can be very helpful, and you can run it vibrationally, or you can go, wow, for example, I initially saw amino acids under that, the B vitamins for me kept on coming up over and over. And I remembered, hey, you know, I used to take this one powder supplement that I really liked, my body loved, that had a lot of B vitamins. I think I'll start taking it again. It was super helpful. For a while, my body type does very well on fish. And under the amino acids, the DHEA kept on coming up a lot. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to start eating more fish, right? The Australian bush flowers for me when I run something, the one I sense the most is often the Australian bush flower. I'm like, ooh, I really like it. Alaskan gem elixirs I don't know that much about, or the Schuster salt. Maybe you can reference that, but I will tell you the Chinese I Ching. You know, Doc Steve will give you a little bit different opinion on what that actually is. You know, officially it would be called a Chinese method of divination, which that term will freak some people out. I will say from my experience, you know, and again, sometimes you can use this on however works for you. I find it more like a very good life advice on what to connect to or let go of to get from where you are to where you want to be. That's kind of very general. And I find it actually quite helpful. I used it the other day was really helpful. I combined that program and then I used it as an outline and framework to do additional work on myself with.
Mm-hmm.
So I use this as a suggestion, and I have other tools I can do. Okay, why is that coming up? So for me, that's kind of how I used it, and it was super helpful. So
it is super helpful. And so the Alaskan gym elixir, and the salts. So basically, you're looking at crystals and minerals. So that's kind of the if one works with, like I said, like you said, Bach flower, amino acid being things around supplements or dietary. We have the different homeopathic remedies around the Australian or the Bach flower, but then people want to use crystals. People want to use minerals, right? So that's some other things to look at in those two databases. They do outline certain things in those databases. So, I mean, there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah, super cool. Anyways, this has been great. I've learned a lot.
Me too.
We will do our best to hyperlink different spots in here so you can go back and quick reference it, because so you don't have to listen to like a 3-hour. How long are we on here? So
3 hours, 3.5 hours. Now,
3.5 hours. So we were very thorough as promised, for
Let
sure.
me show you
right?
something real quick here. I went to clicked on the gear at the bottom there, and at the top it shows the battery percentage. Remember, we started at 99, and we've been on here for 3.5 hours, and we're at 96. And this is the Heley battery power. We only use 3% over all the work that we've done with this little guy. So it can do a lot of work in this resonance in this app, in this blue dot. It can do a lot of work, literally hours and hours, days of
and
work.
it can be plugged in while you're doing it.
That's the other cool thing. If I was to plug this in right now, let me show you. If I plug it in, let me get it plugged in here. There. When I plug it in, and it'll start, that number will actually go up. It typically stays at 100% as it's plugged in, but it'll still work the same while it's plugged in. And so let's say, I recommend that you allow your Heley to discharge all the way down, run it down, and then feed it its charge overnight or over, the hours. But if you've done that charge and it's discharged at the end of the day, and you just got to get a couple more scans in, you just got to get a little bit more information in, go ahead and plug it in, do your scans, shut down the app, let it do its work, and charge itself later on, right? So I don't recommend that you keep it charged, plugged in all the time. Give it its up and down cycles on the charge on the battery, and you're good.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. One last question for you. Okay. I go through the resonance. I find some programs that I want to run with the Pink Dot app. I hear some people running the Pink Dot app without the cords and just wearing the device while they run it. What's up with that?
What we didn't cover on the Pink Dot, and I think this is something that's significant. It was in my mind when we were doing that video, but we didn't bring it up. There is a page called the protection page within the 15, 16 pages of programs. There's one called protection page. And if you'll notice how that protection page works, within the, I'm actually going to bring my device back online because I really want to show this, and we'll highlight this in a different way. But I want to bring this back on because I think it's important that we just outline this real quick, and it'll be maybe its own little segment of the video.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go to the Pink Dot app. And if you'll notice here on my iPhone, I have a subcategory of apps that's just my Heley stuff. So it helps me keep track of where they are, right?
I do that as well. I make a folder on my homepage on my Android and keep all 4 apps in there for quick reference.
Yep. And there's a video on how to do that. So we don't have to go over that.
How to make folder on my iPhone, how to make folder on my Android. There you go.
That's it.
Solved.
Okay. So we're going to click on the Pink Dot app here. And I'm going to open this up because I want to show, it's going to try to connect to my Heley. And I have a Healy. Give it a second. I'm going to search for Healys. The protection page is I want to show you what the app looks like. You know what? I'm going to have to close the blue dot. It's in the background over there.
Great lesson. It doesn't you can't connect two apps to the same device.
It's not going to let you do that. No. So remember, you saw I had to switch over and close that blue dot app because it's like, wait a minute, I need my own connection. So again, we're going to scan the Healy. There we go. Got it. Connect. Now, some people are seeing this white page stay right there. But as you notice, they got the little spinning thing after a few seconds and boom, up we were running. All right.
Sometimes mine will stay there longer than normal. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it stays there for more than 90 seconds, close the app, start over. All right. So let's go to the protection page real quick here. And as you saw, let's just go back to a different one for a moment here. Let's just take a look at the Breath of Life. Okay. Here shows us how to hook up the device that we talked about.
Now, a reminder, the Deep Cycle program will be automatically updated on your phone about 2 weeks after you get it, because we'd like you to kind of ease in. These are very powerful programs.
Yeah.
It might not be the first thing you should run. Okay.
Yeah. If you'll notice, if I go to the Deep Cycle, there's first application, second application, third application. This is kind of warming you up. This is kind of what
it's called a hint.
It's going
to digest all though, man. I will tell you that will save some people massive amounts of money on supplements and digestive aids.
Yeah. Yeah. They're labeled very strategically, very purposefully.
Yeah.
So that clean all, does the word detox say anything?
There you go.
So ramp yourself up slowly. Okay. So let me show you, this first application. I'm just showing you the way that the app is asking you to connect to the Healy, and it's showing you the little dots on the wrist or wrist bracelets. Remember, we said these were interchangeable wrist bracelets, or the dots, the sticky same. Now, let's go with that in mind. We're going to go back to the protection program. Let's just pick one. How about cell protection? I love that one. Take a look how it's connecting us to the Healy. Actually, it's not connecting us to the Healy. It's just saying, put the Healy in your shirt pocket or on your waistband, maybe. And now we're not actually connected via electrodes to the device. So what's the significance of that? The significance of that is that the Healy is still transmitting those frequencies out of the noise generator or frequency transmitter into your field, even though it's running in the microcurrent type of program, the pink dot.
Yeah.
Now, let me assure you, if you connect the cables to the Healy and connect them to your body, it's still sending microcurrent out at the same time it's running this cell program. It's still doing both. So you'll feel it if you do it that way, but you don't have to. The point is, what I'm trying to illustrate here and what we want to talk about here is that in the Pink Dot app, it's actually running in both ways, right? It's running the frequencies into the field, generating out into your bioenergetic field, as well as it's through the microcurrent protocol that we talked about before. That's super cool. To me, that's just like, what? Nobody else does that. Right?
Yeah, love it. So back to the question, if I want to run the Gold Cycle program on relax, could I do it without the cords?
Absolutely. It's doing the exact same function in this program as it is in the protection phase.
Then people go, well, which one works better, Ken?
I know, again. Yeah.
So I will say, like, for some people, like my oldest sister, attaching her cords is a little too much. Much better for her maybe to take it, clip it to her, maybe turn the percentage up. A lot of people go, oh, just turn 100% if you're just wearing it. Some people I've said, oh no, even just wearing with no cords, I can't run it 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just play around with it. Don't do it.
And here's another significance about that. Remember when we were running these into the field on the Blue Dot app, And we even drilled it down from having this massive amount of 5 pages, and then we drilled it down to one particular page. But even so, that one page netted 5 different programs, right?
Yeah.
Here, we can do one page and one program, just one program on that page, and send these into the field of the individual, just one program at a time. So, and again, what if there's contraindications where you can't use the microcurrent because of pacemakers or other things that you can't use? Now, these are just going into your field again. So another way of using the pink dot, even though there may be physical limitations in terms of microcurrent. Okay.
Yeah. I have even on the extreme end of it, because, you know, one thing to understand, we'll have some people use this device who are the sensitive of the uber sensitive type people who, like, if you wear cologne around them, you're going to put them, they'll be running out of the house, you know, right?
In hives.
So sometimes for those people, and you know who you are, you might even set the device next to some water and run the whole program while it's sitting next to water, and then drink the water. And that sounds, it's like diluted upon really, really, really gentle hinting your body maybe it should get better sometime if it wants. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, Dr. Emoto did a whole lot of work on energy into water, and it's a very valuable way of doing that, especially if one is
great carrier of information.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
How do you think those light signals are influenced through our bodies, and why our body's 76% water? We are actually there is a photosynthesis system within our bodies through the water, and the optic nerve takes that light in and puts it through the water, and has different ways it works. So great stuff.
Interesting. Well, hopefully I will see you in Munich, and I'll buy you a beer, and we can have a more deep conversation about this stuff.
The big German Stein.
The big German Stein. I'll save all my carbs up for that. Anyways, I appreciate you. Hope this was helpful for everyone. If you have questions or anything, go ahead and put them in the comments. Again, pay attention to the description section of the video, because I'll have a lot of extra links and hyperlinks of this video and more places to go get information. You're likely on our channel. Notice that there will be upcoming a lot more content that we'll start creating together as a US leadership team, to make your life easier, also to make our life easier, honestly. If we can send you to one video instead of playing customer service all the time, everybody's happier, and we can all get back to building our business.
I agree.
Right? So it's a good thing for everybody. Anyways, bless you, Ken. I appreciate it. Have an awesome week.
All right, buddy.
Bye.